Live. Ooh, am I live? I hope it says I'm live. We haven't got much time before the press conference starts. I'll just make sure I can hear myself. Yep. Well, I'll just turn the fan down. So it's 5:59. The Prime Minister is about to address the nation. So while we wait for that, I will log onto Twitter and tell everybody I'm live. So if you're live, please say hi. I really want to see how many people are watching, and I want to see some engagement.
Her analysis.
There is.
Hello, I'm Jane Norman, live from...
We'll get to that in a minute. So tonight, I originally wanted to talk about the FriendlyJordies versus Drew Pavlou. What's been going on with that? FriendlyJordies has shots fired by FriendlyJordies at Drew Pavlou. So I wanna cover that. I also want to cover Auspill versus Back Freedom, the March for Australia saga. And I also want to cover Family First is in trouble with the dissident right. And if you know the background behind me, if you know the law behind me, then I am very happy about this revelation. Family First is in our bad books right now.
From Parliament House in Canberra, we're standing by to take you to the Prime Minister, who is tonight making a rare address to the nation on the crisis in the Middle East. We'll return to our regular programming shortly, but first, here's the Prime Minister.
My fellow Australians, by nature, we're an optimistic country, but I understand that right now it's hard to be positive. The war in the Middle East has caused the biggest spike in petrol and diesel prices in history. Australia is not an active participant in this war, but all Australians are paying higher prices because of it. I know that you're seeing this at the servo and at the supermarket, and I understand farmers and truckies, small businesses and families are doing it tough. And the reality is, the economic shocks caused by this war will be with us for months. Tonight, I want to speak directly with you about what the government is doing to shield Australia.
Imagine if they announced a lockdown. That would be so funny.
And also, what all of us can do to help our country and help each other in the period ahead. On Monday, National Cabinet adopted the National Fuel Security Plan. Leaders from both sides of politics, from right around the country, working together to keep Australia moving, making sure that we are prepared so that if the global situation gets worse and our fuel supplies are seriously disrupted over the long term, we can coordinate the next steps together. Today, we cut the fuel excise in half, cutting the tax on every litre of petrol by 26 cents. Those savings have started showing up at your petrol station. For our truckies, we have cut the heavy vehicle road user charge to zero. Both these measures will be in place for the next 3 months. We are working to bring the price of fuel down, to make more fuel here and to keep it on shore, and get more fuel here, using our strong trading
it's even more insufferable than usual.
to bring more petrol, diesel and fertiliser to us.
Oh, it's probably because I've got to sped up at 1.25 speed to catch up.
That people want to do their bit. And there are simple ways that you can. You should go about your business and your life as normal. Enjoy your Easter. And if you're hitting the road, don't take more fuel than you need. Just fill up like you normally would. Think of others in your community, in the bush and in critical industries. And over coming weeks, if you can switch to catching the train or bus or tram to work, do so. That builds our reserves and it saves fuel for people who have no choice but to drive. Farmers and miners and tradies who need diesel every single day. And all those shift workers and nurses who do so much for our country. The months ahead may not be easy. I want to be upfront about that. No government can promise to eliminate the pressures that this war is causing. I can promise we will do everything we can to protect Australia from the worst of it. These are uncertain times, but I'm absolutely certain of this. We will deal with these global challenges the Australian way, working together and looking after each other, as we always have. Thank you and good evening.
That's it.
Hello, Melissa McKay with ABC News. You've been watching a special address from the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. Let's bring in afternoon briefing host Patricia Carvelis now for her analysis. Hi there, PK. An address to the nation is a pretty...
That's it. I thought he was going to announce a lockdown, a fuel rationing or something, and it's just him telling us what we already knew. He could have went on Sunrise tomorrow morning and done exactly what he said just then.
Ordinary moment.
What a joke.
It certainly is. They're used very sparingly, as you know, Melissa. They do not happen very often. And I think what it does demonstrate is just the depth and extent of this Middle East crisis and the tsunami economic consequences it's causing our nation. So the Prime Minister making this decision to address the nation as he has just done, to outline his strategy, outlining the measures he's already, of course, adopted, explaining that already you are getting that cut in the fuel excise, which is already bringing down prices for people, so outlining those measures. But really what I thought was key in that address were a few things. One of his messages was essentially that his government has your back, and that he anticipates over the next few months that things will be bleak and will be bad, and that there will be severe economic consequences, and that the government will do...
And whose fault is that? We've got 30 days, if that, of reserve fuel. There are serious talks, and you could argue that it's sensationalism, that they're just playing up the threat to get clicks, to get ad revenue. But there is a serious threat. Unlikely nonetheless, but a serious and possible threat that we run out of fuel. What happens then? What happens if the entire country of Australia, the nearly 30 million people, are stranded on an island without fuel? What is going to happen? How is society going to function? What if somebody has a heart attack and they can't get an ambulance because there's no fuel? What if somebody's getting murdered or raped or mugged? They can't call the cops because the cops don't have any fuel. I suppose the cops are starting to move towards electric vehicles. But fire trucks are very big. They need diesel. Ambulances need diesel. What if a house is on fire? What if a cat's stuck in a tree? The fireys can't get them because they still primarily run on diesel. Like seriously, what happens if this country runs out of fuel? 30 days, both sides of politics have continuously fucked this country in the arse time and time again. We closed 2 of our last 4 oil refineries in 2021 during the pandemic. And we only have 2 left, one in Brisbane and one in Geelong. We barely produce any fuel of our own. At the turn of the millennium, we broke even. The amount of fuel we produced and the amount of fuel we consume is pretty much even. We consumed a little bit more than we produced, but for the most part we were energy independent across pretty much all sectors. And now we could be energy independent, and we have plenty of oil reserves. We just not tapped into them, like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Russia and these smart countries, what they are doing. It honestly does not make any sense that we don't tap into our oil reserves. Just because 10% of the country are hippies, greeny hippies, boomer hippies, that think it's evil to drill oil. You know, fuck them. Are they driving an electric vehicle? Do they seriously think that they'll be shielded from the effects of diesel prices going up to $5 a litre if it does become that? All the food is not shipped by electric vehicles. That's never going to happen, at least not within the next 10, 15, 20 years. It's still going to be shipped by trucks that run on diesel, trains that run on diesel. We're not going to see electric trucks just take over the roads tomorrow morning, and all our food's going to be shielded like that, and they're going to be shielded from the effects of $5 diesel. It is honestly ridiculous the way both sides of politics have managed to screw the Australian people over time and time again. No wonder One Nation is rising in the polls. They will continue to rise in the polls because the government is so stupid. Anthony Albanese is the dumbest person I've ever seen in politics. How the hell do we elect him? Just because Scott Morrison was a serial liar. And because Peter Dutton looked like Voldemort. That's why. That's the only reason why Anthony Albanese is Prime Minister. I can truly say, he's most certainly the worst Prime Minister of my lifetime, excepting maybe John Howard, and he is likely the worst Prime Minister in Australian history. Once again, probably excepting John Howard. Absolute disaster. I hope One Nation gets up to 40% in the polls, 50%, 60% even. It's not necessarily that One Nation deserves it, it's that everybody else deserves to lose. Total Liberal death. We need total Liberal death, and we need somebody from the left of Labor to commit to total Labor death.
Everything.
I can't let the emotions take over me, but you got to understand, you can't blame me.
In its power.
We've been fucked over by the government time and time again.
to try to assist Australians as much as they can. That is an unambiguous message from the Prime Minister that he will throw everything at this as much as he can. He does at the same time, though, Melissa, and I think this is key, say that governments cannot do everything. They cannot insulate us from everything. And so what was really significant in tonight's address from the Prime Minister is what I really think is a softening up for the future. He says, go and enjoy your Easter, but equally start thinking about adjustments you can make. One of them being very immediate, of course. Don't take more petrol than you need, even as you go off on your Easter holidays, as many people will still do. But then the message is looking at the future, and I think we should really talk about that. What he's telling us tonight is what he expects in coming weeks in terms of our behaviour as citizens in this country to try and preserve our fuel reserves.
Yeah, we're going into the Easter weekend. The fuel excise changes came into effect today. What do you make of the timing of this address to the nation from the Prime Minister?
Well, this address comes, of course, a few weeks into this crisis. So this crisis, Australians have been feeling it at the bowser with inflation.
I don't think we're getting anything new here. I'll keep playing it because I need to take a sip of water. But other than that, if you're tuning in, please say hi. I'll have a sip of water first before I discuss the goings on for this evening.
And what are the broader consequences? So it's not a new crisis. What's escalated is our government's response. And I think we saw that with National Cabinet at the beginning of the week, the cut to the fuel excise, the road user charge for trucks. These things were all the government sending a signal that it will do what it can to help address what is an acute issue. So the timing is also all about the fact that we are going into the Easter break. And so the Prime Minister knows that many Australians are on the cusp of having a couple of days off, perhaps longer if you can take some school holidays with your children. But that over that...
I'd hate to be going on an Easter trip right now. That must be a fortune to fill up.
Period. Australians are going in with a sense of apprehension, a sense of anxiety economically. The economic anxiety in the community was already high.
Thank you, Patricia. So, say hi if you're watching in the live chat. Originally, I intended to discuss the latest round of jabs. FriendlyJordies and Drew Pavlou have both been flinging at each other. I don't think that makes much sense. You can't fling a jab. I also wanted to talk about, and this is the main story that we'll get into later. I want to talk about FriendlyJordies versus Drew Pavlou first, and have the leading story in the middle towards the end of the stream. It is Auspill versus Beck Freedom. Just over 24 hours it's been. I hope the camera's looking around. I hope the light's looking right. Beck Freedom accused Auspill of sabotaging the March for Australia, and I didn't say much about this last night. I made a couple of jokes here and there, but I was evaluating who's right, and originally I was siding with Beck Freedom, but seeing how Beck Freedom has conducted herself this morning in the last 24 hours, I'm starting to side with Auspill, and I'm going to get into my thoughts regarding Auspill, the Auspill situation. I'm going to try to discuss at length and in depth the feud between Auspill and Beck Freedom. The NSN will probably be talking about the NSN as well. And I also wanted to talk about Family First. Family First is integral, is vital to my law. Family First is part of the reason I'm famous, why I'm here in the first place. And I'll get into that later in the show this evening. But Family First is in trouble for preferencing the Liberals, and presumably the Nationals too, above One Nation in the seat of Farah for the by-election. And Lyle Sheldon and Family First, they are in trouble. I think I've almost ratioed the Family First account. What the hell? What the hell are these people searching up? Family Guy lowest, 18 and over. I almost ratioed them, but I didn't. So, say hi if you're watching. I don't believe there's anything else I needed to bring up tonight. There might have been one more thing. The fourth thing I'm thinking of is the address, which is
1970s.
Such a nothing, Voga. As I said, I thought the Prime Minister was going to announce fuel lockdowns or something excessive that this would have been a defining point in the 21st century Australian politics. In the 2020s of Australian politics, we were going to point to point to that as a landmark moment, as we did for Scott Morrison's address to the nation, which was the last address to the nation, in March of 2020, in which the entire country was going into lockdown. Can you believe that's been 6 years ago? It's been 6 years to the week since schools completely across the country closed down. We were also unproductive. But, you know, we got to stay home from school. Yeah, but it wasn't good for our social lives. Yeah, I thought he was going to announce fuel lockdowns or rationing or maybe even price caps. No, there was such nothing but, as I said, he could have told Natalie Barr and Matt Shervington that on Sunrise to morning, or he could have told friend of the right wing, Karl Stefanovic. Now, I want to talk about this at some point. Probably not tonight, but Karl Stefanovic has gotten in on the right wing grift. You know, people don't want to admit this, but nationalist politics, right-wing, populist right, dissident right, right-wing grievances, conspiracy grievances especially. I don't specialise in conspiracy theories. You know, I'm very fervently against conspiracy theories. I'll have a Substack essay coming out on that soon.
Oil shocks.
Let her play in the background so there's something to watch besides me. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Where were we? Yeah, I'm against conspiracy theories. Karl Stefanovic. Our movement, populist right, conspiracy once again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but anti-Israel, he's not anti-Israel either, but the general vibe of our movement is the easiest grift in the world right now. To oppose further immigration, to oppose the government, oppose the media, oppose the mainstream media, especially if you're in the mainstream media and you're pretending to be outside of it, like Donald Trump. So many, I don't know how people thought that Donald Trump was against the system. Donald Trump was the system. Donald Trump was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for like 15 years. They had properties, I think they had properties right next to each other. And the idea that Donald Trump, what these Q-tards believe, that Donald Trump was selected to personally, single-handedly, first of all, bring JFK Jr. back from the dead and make him vice president of the United States, and then destroy the satanic pedophilic elites. Absolute nonsense. So say hi if you're watching in the live chat. See who I've got some more people in the live chat. Yeah, hi. There's some people waiting in the fucking the waiting room earlier. Now nobody's watching. Just fucking tune in already. So we'll start addressing the FriendlyJordies versus Drew Pavlou in a minute. Don't know why people aren't tuning in because they indicated they would. But you know, it's just the struggles of a white boy in 2026. You know, if we had Auspill on to explain himself, you know, people would be watching. I should get Auspill on. That's what I should do. I should get him on to explain his side of the story. He's explained himself a little bit on Telegram. I don't know why he's not explained himself on Twitter. He really should have. But yeah, there's probably got a reason for that. He's explained himself in Telegram, so I suppose that's enough. And I think Beck Freedom's conduct has been there's an ad there. I'll turn that off. I think Beck Freedom's conduct has been disqualifying and not becoming of somebody who should be leading the nationalist movement. I mean, some of the stuff she has said to other nationalists, it has been repulsive, it has been disgusting, and it has been despicable. This woman should be nowhere near nationalist politics now. So, you know, Syrian girl, I hate her. She should be deported back to Syria, but she said something that was so on point. Everybody agreed with her, but people just wouldn't say it. You know, hopefully I'll remember it for later in the stream. But it's almost 6:20. Alright, FriendlyJordies versus Drew Pavlou. So, FriendlyJordies will probably talk about it in the video. Escape. This guy's got fucking everybody on his stream now. Let's see who he's got. Podcasts. He's pretty pleased with himself, isn't he?
Leg of our journey here for the Karl Stefanovic show. Busy. Well, I've shown you the Neds app, right? The new Neds app, sensational.
Everybody's fucking shilling for gambling companies these days. Fuck's sake. Let's see. He's got Bob Catter in his son Robbie Catter. He's got Drew Pavlou and Peter Zed. No idea how to pronounce his last name. Always the Wogs of these last names. Scott Challen. You know, I think we'll be talking about him tonight. A lifeguard from Bondi. That's just cook around. No idea who he is. Clive Palmer, everybody knows who he is. Matt Canavan. Who else? Gerard Rennick, that absolute cooker. And Alex Antic. Pauline Hanson, he's had her on twice. Charlie Teo. Is it twice? Oh, yeah, beside the point. Alright, FriendlyJordies versus Drew Pavlou. So FriendlyJordies recently made a video on the new video of Drew Pavlou and Peter Zed did exposing NDIS fraud, and FriendlyJordies, I believe, rather than actually addressing the substance of the evidence presented by Drew Pavlou and his mate Peter, instead resorted to childish name calling. Now, even though it's childish name calling, FriendlyJordies is very funny, so hopefully we'll have a laugh or two watching this. So once again, say hi if you're watching. Alright, give it a like. I've got couple of people watching. Just get the fucking thing up. Yeah, I've got to switch I've got to switch tabs so I can see the live chat. I believe that conspiracy theories can be fun to think about, like a speculation, but the funny thing is it only takes one theory right to be proven true. That's the most dangerous. That is, like, it's just maybe controversial. I'm getting distracted at 6:20. My nose is itchy. For instance, COVID. This may be controversial. I don't believe a lot of the conspiracies about COVID. Obviously, they lied about some stuff, and they were wrong about some stuff. For instance, two weeks to stop the spread. I reckon if they could go back in time, they wouldn't say that. And people, if such such uncharted territory. The entire world had never been locked down. A vaccination that was just brand new had never been forced upon everybody so quickly. That had never happened. Maybe it has happened before, but in living memory it hasn't, especially not with the age of the internet and the age of conspiracy theories. And people, admittedly, people, I got vaccinated, but people should not have been persecuted for not getting the vaccine, and situations like that is obviously going to foster conspiracy theories, and I wonder if that was intentional to maybe to pretend to prove one conspiracy theory is right, and then just believe the most inane nonsense stuff. People believe the moon landing didn't happen. People believe the moon is made out of cheese. People believe the earth is flat. People believe that Epstein turned into a lizard and ate babies and all this fucking idiotic nonsense. But we're getting distracted.
In debating whether to even make this video, as by even broaching this topic, I'm putting my life at risk. So before I talk anymore, I want you to go to this special GoFundMe that I've set up. It's called Jordies National Hero Life-Saving Legend Exposing Scams GoFundMe. Please chip in at least $20 to help me pay for Lebanese Muslim immigrants as a result of what I'm about to expose. I will definitely not be using the GoFundMe for a holiday at... Oops. Look, that's the theme of this video. It's on the lucrative scam of exposing scams. This is how financialized the West has gotten. The best scam you can do nowadays is just a derivative of another scam. Gypsies aren't even doing the 3-card Monty anymore. This is how through the...
FriendlyJordies is funny, but it's always the jokes. He spends too long making jokes and doesn't get into the substance of the video.
3-card Monty. Drew Pavlou. Hey, don't make fun of my ethnicity, Chaz.
Obviously, FriendlyJordies an ad. Fuck's sake. I've seen 3 ads in a row. I've had 3 unskippable ads play for me recently. Even though FriendlyJordies is in the wrong, we can all appreciate a laugh at the expense of Drew Pavlou.
Melbourne live show this week. Get tickets now. I've done a video on Drew before, so if you're a glutton for punishment, you can watch it if you want background. Like all lolcows, there's a lot of lore to cover, but if you're
That's actually a very funny video. That's my favourite video of Friendly
more
Jordies.
sensible, you'll
Maybe we
just
should
go watch
watch
some
it
other
afterwards.
YouTube like Hot Ones. You'll be safe from any surprise Drew Pavlou appearances, as he'll never be allowed on that show for two reasons. One, he's not famous enough and never will be. Two, we know he'll just forego the interview part of the program and eat chicken wings the entire time. If you don't know who Drew Pavlou is, all you really need to know is that he's this fat Greek kid from Brisbane who failed to heed his call in life of becoming a moderately successful real estate agent and instead became some sort of borderline schizophrenic anti-communist activist / con man who, according to his dad, I'm sorry, every time Drew's mentioned, you have to play this. It's too good.
I don't care about a job.
Yes.
Bullshit, I'm not paying for you to see a life, dickhead.
But Drew proved his old man wrong. Drew has eked out a living. And minor fame from sporadically manufacturing lame little controversies that aim to portray him at the centre of this global struggle against totalitarian communist Islam, or whatever is currently and coincidentally perfectly fitting over the Venn diagram of whatever gets clicks on X. But unlike some of his contemporaries, he's very uncreative as a con man. He rides off the hard work of actually ingenious hustlers. Case in point, Drew's latest trick that he didn't come up with. He plagiarised it from an American huckster called Nick Shirley, who created international controversy a few months back where he exposed a bunch of alleged fraud in Minnesota by Somali childcare centre.
Drew Pavlou actually, I don't think he actually did anything in exposing the scam. I think it was all the work of Pete. Drew Pavlou was just there like he's essentially his mini me. Just they're following him around.
Operators.
Oh, we're just seeing.
And I think Pete Z Zogulus, I don't know what his name is, has got 37 times the amount of subscribers he has on YouTube.
Checking out the rates for healthcare because there's 14 healthcare companies inside this building. So
Well, that's not what he said. He said there's 14 companies here, and he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers, everyone here is fraudulent.
so
So
we're
he's here with some kind of like propaganda.
Look, there probably was a bunch of fraud in this program that Nick Shirley was talking about. I just don't trust it being accurately exposed by a child who crashes out under even the slightest amount of pressure during a soft interview from a self-admitted acid casualty. No offence intended to Andrew. Shirley's video created some of the pretext for the Trump...
Wasn't that interviewer called out for fucking him over? Like they explicitly they intentionally left out parts that would have, with context, made Nick Shirley look like he knew what he was talking about, and rather than just insane conspiracy nutjob racist.
Trump administration to begin Operation Metro Surge, wherein ICE and CBP, Customs and Border Protection, were sent into Minneapolis, and then with the head of the CBP, Greg Bavino, apparently instructing his officers with words straight from the mouth of the greatest man from Minneapolis. And we all saw how that went down. Drew's dream seemingly was
who's the one who was shot, right? Yeah. The killing of Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good, 100% justified. If you, as well as Desi Freeman, I've seen people say the cops shooting Desi Freeman was not justified. Yes, it motherfucking was. If you are a cop and your all your brethren have died on the line of duty. And the cops aren't on our side, but your brethren have died on the line of duty wearing blue, that thin blue line. Of course, you were going to want to kill the man who harmed your fellow. He would have done that to you as well if he had the chance. He was going to do it to them. He had the opportunity to put down his gun, and he did not. Even if Desi Freeman did not have a gun on him at the point of death, it would have been justified for the police to shoot him because Desi Freeman had murdered 2 police officers. Fuck Desi Freeman. Fuck cookers. Fuck sovereign citizens. Fuck Avi Yemeni and that fat Indian bloke, whatever his name was, Rukshan, who, I'm not going to insinuate anything, but Desi Freeman's friend contacted Rukshan the day of the Porapunka when Desi Freeman murdered those 2 cops in Porapunka. And I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that as Avi Yemeni and Rukshan inspired what's his name, Desi Freeman, with inane conspiracy theories about everything. I'm just leaving that out there. Oh yeah, Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good, absolutely fucking justified. Renee Nicole Good was going to mow down the ICE agent. What if you had to put yourself in his shoes? People have constantly calling for the abolition of ICE. Celebrities have been calling for the abolition of ICE. Conveniently, they all live behind, they all live behind gated communities. $10 million houses. It is in vogue to call for the deaths of ICE, and a serious country would lock up anybody calling for the execution of officers of the state. But the United States is not a serious country. Even with Donald Trump, a serious country would have fucking thrown Hassan and Destiny in jail for the rest of their lives. Beside the point. That cop could have probably has his life himself threatened by numerous people, and he's seen this absolute left-wing lesbian nutjob, Renee Colgood, driving at him. Even if she drives away, his first instinct would have been to shoot her. 100% justified. And Alex Preddy had a gun. I don't care about any other extenuating context. Alex Preddy, the cop who killed Alex Preddy, 100% justified. Fuck them both.
Here, and he kind of failed and kind of succeeded. I'm actually curious. I wonder how juiced the numbers are by X. How many people have actually seen Drew's attempt to recreate Nick Shirley's lightning in a bottle in Fairfield in Western Sydney? Well, no one's been shot dead yet, so clearly not enough. Pretty much the exact same video as Nick Shirley's. You just replaced Minneapolis with Bankstown, alleged childcare centre fraud with alleged fraud in Australia's National Disability Insurance Scheme, Somalis with Lebs, and Nick Shirley, the gay little citizen journalist with...
Not alleged fraud. It is fraud. One of 13 people in Lakemba are NDIS providers.
If Cartman-esque Greek slob here. So actually, I'm already being unfair. Drew's video is infinitely better than Nick Shirley's because some fat little Greek nerd lazily attempting to expose Lebs in Bankstown is amazing television. Let's get into it.
Don't think to come to St. Clair. Are you going to be in the trouble?
Can I ask you a
understand?
question?
No.
Is this a legitimate business?
Bro, get out.
Hey,
get
please,
out.
that's assault because this is my
That's
property.
Hey. She just broke the $800 glasses.
How many times we
$800 glasses?
I
You fucking deserve that if you were spending $800 on glasses.
Dude, I don't care. I'm not going to speak to anyone.
Are you seeing this?
Out of here.
Updoc is Australia's lead.
No, that woman, I think we've got our first bride for Married at First Sight next season. I think John Aiken and whoever they're going to replace Mel Schilling with should contact her soon. They should get in contact with her soon.
Fucking fantastic. It's basically Jerry Springer if Jerry belonged on the NDIS himself. Unlike most of Drew's
no maths on tonight, so there's no excuse for not tuning in.
Content, not too many issues with the entertainment value, really. You never really can go wrong with the A Current Affair formula, can you? The issue is, A Current Affair does have a crack team of researchers sussing out what plumbers actually are dodgy. Drew just has his mate whose only skill set seems to be YouTube slop thumbnails. Oh, I suppose he owes this nifty pair of glasses too, and... oops, scratch that. Like, this is how they explain the NDIS, or National Disability Insurance Scheme.
This is the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme.
The Western Sydney support worker is accused of stealing millions of dollars meant for disability services.
Now, this disability program has a bigger budget than the entire military of Australia. And what if I told you anyone with a pulse can take advantage of that system? And here's exactly how it works. The Australian government uses taxpayers' money to help people.
Get a piece of paper and a notebook. Write this down, alright?
Who have a disability. However, the money does not go directly to the person with special needs. It goes to a grown-up who has made themselves worthy enough to take care of them. And then this provider is in charge of...
Some nationalists needs to do that, and we can all... I mean, I'm on the spectrum. I have Asperger's. So you know, and the rest of the nationalists can just fake, you know, actually, you know, seeing the caliber of nationalists there's probably something actually wrong with them. Probably all schizophrenics or something. So somebody can sign up as an NDIS provider and we can reap all the benefits.
Charge of hiring people to help the person with the disability. But what most people don't know is that they can use their power to abuse the system. This is Drew Pavlou, a political activist who's dedicated a lot of his time digging into the potential NDIS...
Sorry, just pause it. It's amazing that the evidence of Drew Pavlou digging into potential NDIS fraud is just him retweeting screenshots of ABC articles. What the hell is this? FriendlyJordies? And just because you're not going to get a decent explanation from Drew and his friend, let me explain the whole NDIS fraud situation, which is crazy. The NDIS was set up by the Gillard government. It really only came into existence during Labor's dying days in office in 2013. And yeah, it's what the name suggests. An insurance scheme funded by the government that provides services and care to the disabled through the funding of specialised providers. Now to the claims of fraud.
So why is it taking people like us to actually look into this? Like mainstream media doesn't look into it. You know, the government's obviously not looking into it. So like, why does it take people like us?
Now,
They're right. This should be a goldmine for the journalism on a current affair. The same outlet that once tracked down somebody who pissed off the roof of the Sydney cricket ground at a Wallabies match, dubbing him the... I'm not making this up. The piddler on the roof.
I am no stranger to YouTube.
But, you know, actually, if I was watching the Wallabies play, I'd probably take a piss in front of them as well.
Self-aggrandizing, but
probably piss all over them.
It is a pretty bad sign that the video begins with completely baseless claims, such as, the government is not looking into NDIS fraud, Stooge. And it's...
No, obviously he knows, like, that they will investigate some claims of NDIS fraud, but they may as well not be. He's not wrong. Just it's always these fucking midwits. Just Pete said the government's not looking into NDIS fraud. He doesn't mean that as a blanket rule. He just means that they may as well not be looking at. He means that there is so much NDIS fraud, and the government is not allocating as much resources to it that. You know, essentially, at the end of the day, they're not looking into NDIS fraud.
And it's solely up to tireless service...
Not looking into NDIS fraud would be the same as what they're currently doing now.
Public good, Drew Pavlou, to bust it wide open. In fact, this is a claim that by proxy Drew has levelled at me. Lol, the FriendlyJordies subreddit saved over our NDIS investigation video and deleted it. I guess exposing corruption is no longer cool when it makes the Labor government look bad. Hacks! First off,
AI is getting very good. That was a fantastic AI impression of Drew. Yeah, I know it wasn't AI. I know it was FriendlyJordies.
May I just say, fuck the FriendlyJordies subreddit. I have nothing to do with it and don't want anything to do with Reddit full stop. Every time I've ever been on that site, it immediately gave me soul cancer because Reddit is an audience as dumb as the one that Drew panders to on X without the comedic relief. I honestly think they should let that slop on there, Drew. I also think it'd be really great if this picture of you was the only thing posted there for a month. But alas, I'm not...
Check the thumbnail. Check the thumbnail. That's the exact image I used in control.
More importantly, you seriously think I'm afraid to talk about NDIS fraud?
Yes.
That would be like me claiming that you're afraid of food. Go on YouTube right now and search "Help, I'm a fat Turkish man," and then when you finish that video, search FriendlyJordies NDIS, and you can see that I've been making videos about NDIS fraud before it was cool. And those videos address the claim that the government is not looking into NDIS fraud, i.e. they are. Sorry it still exists.
Not good
just
enough.
Because you have doctors doesn't mean that you can cure cancer. Clearly. In fact, let's watch a bit of one of these videos, as it's a twofer. It also debunks Drew's recent ludicrous allegation that I'm not racist enough. Pull that shit up, Jamie. Over the decade of neglect from the self-proclaimed conservative economic managers, the Libs, the NDIS became this gigantic allegation.
Right. Yeah, this is important. The New South Wales Labor government, which appoints the New South Wales police force, is seemingly fine with FriendlyJordies just straight up being killed by Arab gangsters. That's their revealed preference by failing to charge the culprits in the Alameddine crime family who ordered his attempted killing. In what fucking world are we not prosecuting fucking people who firebomb? What if somebody innocent was killed that didn't have to do with Geordies? That shouldn't even matter. Firebombing, blow the book at them. How does this insane fact not change the way he sees politics? I don't understand how he can't recognise that Australia's migration policies have failed. He was literally firebombed by a foreign crime gang. How is this not enough to help lift the scales from one's eyes? FriendlyJordies, wake up. Yeah, exactly. Drew's right. FriendlyJordies, what the fuck are you doing? Suicidal empathy. You're going to get killed, and the Labor government will do nothing. They won't even piss on your grave. They won't even piss on you if you're on fire.
Not racist enough. Pull that shit up, Jamie. Over the decade of came this gigantic, exponentially growing pool of money, almost a mini black economy in itself, that was exploited by everyone from organised crime pretending to be disability care providers to me. I'm faking autism just to get checks. Now do you understand why I wasted half the video on Groiper references and 20 minutes on a Shapes review last week? It was necessary to keep up the payments. In Groiper
I need that hat.
References and 20 minutes on a Shapes review last week. It was necessary to keep up the payments. In fact, It was estimated that nearly 5% of the scheme is spent in error. That's $2 billion. $2 billion a year, or over $5 million a day on fraud. That's enough to feed your mum for half a day. Providers can't even invoice the scheme without an ABN. In some cases, they push participants to use the scheme to purchase illegal drugs. It was the Wild West. Instead of steeds, wheelchairs. Instead of lassos, those pulley hoists to lift mobile people out of bed. That's actually not true, because that would be perfectly valid costs for the NDIS, and it's not disabled people exploiting the scheme. It's Catholics! Let's be real, it's the 21st century, it's libs. The NDIS, kind of like every government scheme that involves a bit of the private sector, became a massive vehicle for fraud under the Liberal government. It was estimated that
liberals, everything's the fucking Liberals' fault. Maybe the reason it became fraud under the Liberals, and I hate the Liberals, you know, we're committed to total Liberal death on this channel, but the reason it became so fraud infested under the Liberals is because the Liberals had 9 years in charge of the government services, including the NDIS, and Julia Gillard was set up NDIS at the end of 2012. And barely had any time to do anything with it before Kevin Rudd got in office, and Kevin Rudd didn't even do anything in office because there was an election almost immediately after he took office again. Well, that's like 9 months at most.
The year was spent in error. It was, and still is to a large extent, a massive pot of money for crooks to live off of. So,
and why the fuck is the Liberals relevant now? They've not been in government for coming up to 4 years. What has the Liberals got to do with fraud now?
I'm not even going to dispute
there's more fraud right now under Labour than there was under the Liberals.
The veracity of any of the individual acts of the wog-on-wog violence that Drew initiated in this video. He most likely was triggering some dodgy providers, and there is no shortage of dodgy providers, so credit there, but it's just so unbelievably absurd and grifty to pretend that the government isn't attempting to address this, and that it was a problem created by Labor. Essentially, as soon as Labor won in 2022, as soon as Bill Shorten became Minister for the NDIS, he set up the Fraud Fusion Task Force, and within 2 years they'd opened over 500 investigations, saved $60 million in fraud, and put...
Always jacking off the Labor Party on this channel, always sucking them off. Go off, set up an OnlyFans. You may as well set up an OnlyFans where you pay to watch them jack off Labor politicians.
Billions more under investigation. A more accurate, albeit far less entertaining version of your video, Drew, would have been to just go on the NDIS press release website and read about some of the crooks the task force has caught. But then you couldn't claim you're the only legend brave enough to take this on, could you?
The first thing Drew and I did was check in with NDIS providers with government warnings to see if we could find anything suspicious. But honestly, we didn't get as far as we wanted to.
Just please leave. With holiday rentals and hotels, Booking.com has something for everyone.
That right there is the face of modern Australia. That is the person who is. 40% of your paycheck goes immediately to the government. That is who is the recipient. That is who is the beneficiary of your labour. While they sit on their ass as one of the 5 wives of, you know, Muhammad fucking Al-Madin in a 2-story air-conditioned house with 5 rooms and 8 children. That's who's in charge. Like, that is who is in charge. That is who all parties in this country cater to.
Suspicious, but honestly, we didn't get as far as we wanted to.
Just please leave.
Oh wait, you did check the website. There's so much fraud in the NDIS and the government won't do anything about it, so we're going to investigate. Now, to begin my investigation, I'm going to take a look at the alleged fraud the government is investigating and publishing on their website.
So I've heard out of the 7,000 tip-offs that have been received through the NDIS from participants, and there's only a certain...
somebody needs to do this in Brisbane. Maybe I should do it. Would you watch that if I did that in Brisbane?
An amount of...
We'll get Drew Pavlou. We could do it with Drew Pavlou.
Actual prosecutions that have happened. And do you know the amount?
16 prosecutions out of 7,000 tip-offs. 16. Not even 0.1% of cases reach the actual prosecution stage.
Run. Also, it's really not a good sign that their source is, I think, the Google AI search summary feature. Fuck me. Since Shorten's...
Why is that bad? There's a source. There's literally a source.
Their source is, I think, the Google...
That chainmail thing, that chain link, that's a source. That goes to a source. Google didn't just pluck it out of their ass. Drew Pavlou didn't pluck it out of his ass either. That is a number that can be corroborated with sources.
Google AI.
So sick of this nonsense. People discrediting AI and also Wikipedia. It's fucking sourced. They don't make stuff up. What the hell is wrong with you? Always these fucking midwits as well. Always.
AI search summary feature. Fuck me. Since Shorten's Fraud Fusion Task Force was created in 2022, there have been 20 successful prosecutions, which is double
20.
the rate of successful prosecutions than under the Libs. This number will...
We don't support the Liberal Party. 20. 20. 20. Single digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 6, 7. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20. 20.
Will also increase as prosecutions can take months or even years to conclude. And if you want to be really fair to Drew, this claim that he failed to source or even give context for the time period for seems to have come from this macro business article, which was reporting on the NDIA's own quarterly reports. The article itself is fine. It gives context to the scale of the rorting that has been allowed to proliferate in the NDIS and the gargantuan amount of resources that would be required to follow up every tip.
The integrity chief of the NDIS told the Australian Senate that if every single case of fraud were to be prosecuted, the entire Australian legal system would collapse.
I can tell you now, there is not sufficient judiciary to process the cases we have in the pipeline in the country.
There are literally not enough judges to deal with the known cases of fraud emanating from the scheme.
Yeah, that's the point.
And who should we trust, Geordie? You or somebody literally giving sworn testimony under penalty of perjury, I suppose, penalty of contempt of parliament, and he's an expert in his field, that if we actually investigated fraud to the extent that it's occurring in Australia, the legal system would collapse. Who should we believe? You, the constant shill for the Labor Party, doesn't even get paid for his efforts. The Labor Party hates you. They want nothing to do with you. Or somebody who is an expert in this field. And the shit-eating grin as well. It's that fucking shit-eating grin.
Drew and his friend are taking public servants and agencies being extremely transparent about a problem and twisting that into a shadowy conspiracy. If they bothered to include more context to what the compliance chief was saying, you'd know that he said it was too late to prosecute, i.e. fraud got so bad under the Liberals that it would be a waste of time / impossible to pull up the decade of fraud.
Somebody's asking me in the live chat if I'm a boy or a girl.
And drag
you see this? What the hell?
Reports now. So the best course of action is the reform and preventative measures that the government is currently taking, that Drew and all the Murdoch press outlets that gas this video up pretend are non-existent. The reality is so polar opposite to the narrative that Drew is trying to spin here of the government isn't taking fraud seriously, that the Greens actually lashed out at Shorten at the time, accusing this compliance officer of manufacturing the narrative of fraud in order to bolster the case for Shorten's reforms. Now let's get this straight, Drew. The compliance chief you're citing as supposed evidence of Labor allowing fraud to proliferate on the NDIS was appointed by this very Labor government. His source for why the government isn't taking this seriously is the prime example of why this government is taking this seriously. I mean, Drew, there is a supreme irony in making a video about fraud, which by definition is deceptive conduct for financial gain. And in this video, you deceive your audience about fraud for financial gain. Like, Drew, just answer me this.
He's not deceiving them about anything.
Do you need $60,000 to walk up and harass?
Although it is true that Drew Pavlou does seem to use crowdfunding for let's say not what it was intended for purposes. You know, not that's what it seems like.
Harass receptionists in Western Sydney. Trust me. There's a ton of people just as ethnic and insane as you that are doing that every day for free. They're doing it for the love of the game. I mean, if you were doing a GoFundMe for a series called Drew Annoys Dodgy Lebs, I'd donate to that in a heartbeat. I'm sure many would. Just don't pretend that you're on some noble quest. In fact, I think I'm in the position to level this question at you, Drew, after you took that jab.
Well, wait, let's just deny that. 14 minutes in.
At first, they might look like ordinary glasses. But
Well, they're going to start selling hot cross buns the entire year round, but they didn't.
Wear them, everything changes.
They may as well, because they start selling them on Boxing Day. Actually, before Boxing Day, on Christmas Eve.
Why now? Why did you wait all these years saying fuck nothing and only now go on and on about fraud in the NDIS? Is it because you sensed you could make some sort of money off of Shirley's clout, perhaps? Oh, wait.
Why is that a relevant fact? How does that further this conversation? How does that further the need to investigate fraud? Further the conversation on whether or not we should investigate fraud more in this country. What does that? What does that constant shit-eating grin and the fucking midwittery? How does that further this conversation?
Wait, no, sorry. Drew has talked about the NDIS in the past. My mistake. Look at this tweet from 2022. Disabled brothers and sisters deserve dignity and respect. Thank you, Bill Shorten, for targeting fraudsters and criminals taking advantage of the most vulnerable in our society. I'm sure it's a coincidence that message just doesn't go down as well on the YouTube algorithm as government letting Leb steal all your money. Like, even though I'm making fun of that message, me hearing it is like, oh, what? In fact, in 2020, when the Liberals were in, Drew was complaining that there wasn't enough money being thrown at the NDIS. Norway never has to worry about deficits again. Meanwhile, we are still trapped talking about deficits and austerity measures. Government still won't fully fund NDIS, still won't fully fund support for the unemployed and needy in one of the wealthiest nations in the world.
That's 6 years ago. Who gives a shit?
So Green's talking points back then, when it was politically expedient,
He's a
now that the
leftist.
algorithm
What do
has
you
changed
care?
on X, he's decided, being a lol cow is in risk of becoming stale. I am taking this grift to strange new places. Immigrants. 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 He's just a whinge merchant who sells One Nation flavoured wines instead of teal flavoured wines. If you're a grifter in this country, those really are your two options. You can either lie about the government and what it's doing and appeal to Reddit, or you can lie about the government and what it's doing and appeal to X. His video is about as basic X audience capture as you can possibly get. Drew's gone with
Once
X.
again, FriendlyJordies doesn't get paid by the Labour Party. He's not an agent of the Labour Party. The Labour Party hates him.
X because he has the attention span of a bee and seems to get genuinely sexually aroused when he gets retweeted by someone in the MAGA administration. And that illustrates my main point. Yes, there's tons of NDIS fraud taking place, just like there's tons of fraud taking place in every government program ever. And Drew is one of those fraudsters. He has no
That's
interest
an
in stopping it.
photo.
He doesn't believe in anything other than making bank off of misleading you. Prove me wrong, Drew. Here's a challenge. If you're going to talk about some unaddressed fraud, why not the scam country university centres run by the current leader of the Liberal Party's brother? Unlike the NDIS,
We don't support the Liberal Party. Why do you care? Why are you bringing this up? Do you think everybody that doesn't suck off Albo, worship Albo's feet, the ground that he walks on, the air that he breathes, is in bed with the Liberal Party?
it wasn't in the shortened remit to begin a task force into this con. This is an issue that could really do with the Pavlou treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm guessing it.
Like somebody in the live chat said, the funny thing is Drew didn't make the fraud a race issue and Jordy still went there. Yes, because Jordy's knows better. Jordy's absolutely knows better. The Labour Party knows better. Everybody knows better that Lebanese and these Muslim communities are disproportionately overrepresented in fraud. If we don't have much, I don't think we have. We don't collect crime and data on racial statistics and crime in this country. And I don't know if there's any data on the I don't know how much data there is on crime convictions and arrests and charges for NDIS fraud. But you will see that these woke communities, these Islamic communities, are vastly overrepresented. 1 in 13 people in the suburb of Lakemba, a highly Muslim suburb of Sydney, are NDIS providers. In what way is that not fraud? This is, as you said, this is obviously racial. There are obviously racial elements at play because people are different, because they come from low trust societies, and any multiracial society will inevitably, even if it's formed exclusively or mostly of people from high trust societies, will eventually become low trust, because race is real and demographics are destiny. And at the end of the day, these groups don't trust each other. Whites, Muslims, and Asians and Africans, don't trust each other. They don't get along too well. There's a reason why people lived alone. People lived separately in different countries for most of history.
It won't, because it won't get replays on 2GB and Sky. And you got to have those so they can invite you on so that you can look like a deer
2GB isn't even right wing.
The headlights.
Look, some stuff was extraordinary, Andrew. One cleaning service.
Country university centres are these glorified libraries run by Duncan Taylor, the brother of Angus Taylor. Legit.
Don't care.
They're just libraries without books. And they've received millions in government funding specifically from Barilaro, despite a negative cost-benefit analysis. Which reminds me, unlike the university centres, the NDIS does actually have a decent cost-benefit analysis. Big story, right?
Not
I'll
true.
let you get started on that investigation, Drew. Look at this press release that Angus Taylor has since deleted. Funding extended for Country University Centre Goulburn. Oh, and it's dated on Friday the 13th, no less. Whoa, spooky. Hey, think about it. The current leader of the Liberal Party is basically one of those angry receptionists you annoy in your video. Go on, Drew.
Nescafe Farmers Origins India. Let our origins inspire you. Discover the origins.
Probably have some more ads before the
Walk
video
into his office,
only
take a principal stand, go annoy him. Prove that you're not a hack, and I'll make your dreams come true by forcing my subreddit to post all your videos so you get famous enough to go on Hot Ones and eat chicken on camera. Hopefully you get debilitating food poisoning from the chicken, so you can learn to appreciate the NDIS on a whole new level. But let's be honest, I seriously think that you'd qualify for it anyway. And for those of you who saw Drew's video and you're selfish enough to think, oh, I don't want the NDIS wasting my money, always remember, it could be you that's hit by a bus tomorrow, or you've undergone a Kafkaesque metamorphosis into Drew Pavlou, and that gets you on the...
That's stupid. We're against migrants defrauding the NDIS to tens of billions of dollars annually. Like, nobody's against having NDIS help for people that are bedridden and need to shit in a bedpan and can't even speak. They're mute. And they just make sounds like 45-year-olds that still have Thomas the Tank Engine beddings. Like nobody opposes NDIS fraud, NDIS funding rather going to that. We do oppose fucking Somali Muslims who can't speak English, and Lebanese Muslims can't speak English. It won't work. For some reason in this country, who support Hamas, globalize the Intifada, it's somehow so disabled that they need constant NDIS funding, but well enough to every Sunday march to go to the train to Sydney or go to the mosque and listen to, Muslims don't go to the mosque on Sunday, they go on Friday. Beside the point. They're well enough to go to the city each weekend and chant globalize the Intifada and from the river to the sea. Well, that's illegal in Queensland now. No, I'm just quoting somebody, Mr. Christopher. Please don't arrest me. And they're well enough to go to the mosque of the hate preachers who are directly responsible for Bondi. Not nationalists. I don't like Thomas Sowell, but Thomas Sowell is not responsible for what happened in Bondi. Joel Davis isn't responsible for what happened in Bondi. Drew Pavlou is not responsible for what happened in Bondi. Auspill is not responsible for what happened in Bondi. Islamic terrorism is ISIS hate preachers constantly fostering hate among different communities in Australia, specifically Jews. And now, obviously, Israel isn't innocent, but these communities say that Hamas is good and that we need to globalize the Intifada. We need it on October 7th in Australia, and that whose religious texts call for the murdering of all Jews. Is that really more people? Do we really need more of those people in Australia? Do we really need more people to further bring down this level of social cohesion we have in this country? We barely have any social cohesion already. The government always talks a tough game about increasing social cohesion, but are you actually willing to do what it takes to increase social cohesion? If you're not willing to deport anybody that supports Hamas or ISIS or Hezbollah or the Houthis or any of these Islamic terrorist groups, any Muslim that expresses support for an Islamic terrorist group or Islamic terrorism in any form or attends a hate mosque should be deported immediately. No questions asked, no due process, no appeals, no. They don't get to plead their case on a current affair or Sunrise or what was the project or 7:30 or the SBS. No, not allowed. Go home, fuck off, pack your bags, bye, and you're paying for the plane ticket. Our country is not for you. is not for you and Zionists and Hindus and Sikhs, as a matter, to fight out your millennia-long blood feuds because we are dumb enough to open the country, to turn ourselves into the world's largest, fucking arena for you to kill each other over your stupid blood feuds. Fuck off.
On the NDIS, but this is the point that they don't get, as they're only marginally more intelligent than those that are on the NDIS. While this video complains that the NDIS is a huge part of our economic growth now, what happened to the good old days? Where the fuck do you want the economic growth to come from? More migration? You want more of this mob in here, do you, X-Crowd? They honestly don't get this, but something like the NDIS is actually how you reduce migration in reality. This is an important point. In the 21st century, as we're all well aware, human beings are widely becoming quite useless and fast. There simply aren't that many jobs anymore that can't be done by robots. Not everyone can be a surgeon, and that's what the NDIS really is. It's a giant employment scheme. If these giant employment programs didn't exist, the only way you could generate growth is by increasing consumption, i.e.
Yeah, NDIS somehow reduces immigration despite the fact that you can come into this country and immediately get government welfare. Immediately, you don't even have to be an Australian citizen. You don't have to be a permanent resident. You just have to come to this country. People come to this country just for the welfare because we have one of the most generous welfare systems in the world. And that's a good thing. Australian citizens should have access to generous welfare if they need it. Not for Muslims and Hindus and Sikhs and Africans to come to this country and constantly sit on their ass and defraud the Australian taxpayer and face absolutely no repercussions while Joel Davis is thrown in jail for a social media post and Drew Pavlou is visited by the police for a social media post and ISIS hate preachers constantly call for violence while nothing is done about that.
More migration. And what other alternatives are there to the NDIS? The dole, so Drew and the gang can complain about dole bludger fraud. Force them into the military so the Greens can complain that we're becoming like America. That's just it. No matter what the solution is, whingers gonna whinge. But Australia's solution, i.e. the NDIS, should be held up as a point of national pride. This is the government taking on the challenge of setting up one of the most complicated and ambitious government programs in human history to further cement Australia's status as one of the greatest places to live on planet Earth. It is essentially the government saying, we're going to address unemployment by giving the most vulnerable people in society
That's not
care.
why the
and
NDIS exists.
That the One
not
Nation
even
whinge
close.
merchants, the Murdoch press, Clive Palmer, the usual suspects, all of a sudden have decided to start attacking the NDIS as a program. This is their new dole bludger whinge. And I honestly find this very revealing about what fundamentally cruel, selfish people they truly are. Anyway, come see my show. I'm mostly in Queensland next. Make sure you get your ticket so I don't...
Let's see if there's... speaking of Drew Pavlou, I said Drew Pavlou's photo was unflattering. That is unflattering, although his entire what he looks like is unflattering.
At UpDoc,
we're going to talk about Auspill and
strict clinical standards. That means professional, convenient, and accessible care.
Maybe I don't want to actually tonight. Just keep watching FriendlyJordies.
Request a consultation now at updoc.com.au.
Chew you good. Extra.
Hey, did you hear about the resounding victory of One Nation in South Australia, where they delivered one of the most conclusive Labor victories in all of this nation's history anywhere? What?
2026 South Australian election. Also, good news, Australia beat Curacao in the soccer last night. We're going to do... Hopefully we do very well at the World Cup. Rugby League World Cup's also this year. It's probably a foregone conclusion that the Kangaroos will just destroy their opponents. Record Labor win. It is true that Labor, siding with the Cookers, Labor did win the most seats they'd ever won at the state level, but they didn't win the most seats. They lost seats. They lost votes rather. 40% of the vote last time. Only 38% of the vote. One Nation, 22% of the vote. Only 3 seats, and I know how this voting system works. But do you really think One Nation Labor had their best ever night when they lost 2.3% of the vote? essentially only 1 in 3 people voted for them. 2 or 3 people voted for somebody else. Almost a quarter of all South Australians voted for the far right alternative, the racist alternative that they had never voted for before. Do you really think that is a certification of the Labor government? Honestly, do you honestly think that this was at the end of the day successful for Labor? If everybody that voted for One Nation voted for the Liberals, and the Liberals would have much more seats. Labor would not have as many seats as they did already.
The presses, the amazing comeback. The people have spoken. They've got 1, 2-ish each. Could go up to 3.
We did a stream about that. Here's the highlights. Melbourne and Queensland tickets to my brand new live show on sale now. I think we should probably do a quick rundown of the press's response to South Australia. What the hell was that? I actually do feel like the crusty thing. What the hell was that? Malinauskas just secured one of the most convincing victories.
Iron your shirts, mate, honestly.
Dare I say thumping in all of Australian history. And every single headline. One Nation sends a message to the majors. One Nation coming in hot with its 4 seats. How many seats is it on at the moment? Before we even begin, I just want to see what the vote tally is. Earthquake. One Nation's biggest electric shock. You know what's incredible about this? It wasn't shocking at all. It was exactly what everyone was predicting. Those numbers were within percentiles of one another, and yet the world has changed. What's stopping One Nation in the voter base not comprehending how to fill out the ballot paper or otherwise writing something in snarky like the Labor elections, thus invalidating the ballot? I will say that you have completely got that right. It's this is why I am so emphatic about One Nation making their voice heard in the regions. Sometimes, because their voice is One Nation, one means one. And then they just leave the rest of it blank. Don't know how to fill it out properly. And then just hand votes over to Labor. Thank you very much for all of those. We will continue to fill out our ballots properly because we can read. And let's see what Barnaby Joyce says about this, because I have heard intel from behind the scenes that Barnaby understands that there is a big problem with the fact that One Nation voters don't know how to vote. It's hard to make your
that's actually true. So many people on the dissident right are retarded. And One Nation constantly has to release that cartoon of telling people how to do their preferences.
Voice heard when you don't know how to write.
To be quite frank, this movement started overseas and it's arrived here, and I think One Nation led the way with Pauline some 20 or so years ago, but now it's the second iteration of it. They're more powerful than the first.
Look, I always give this to Barnaby. He is a smooth political operator. He knows what he's doing. He's got the right senses, and I think that he's really sober about this stuff. And on top of this, very virile. Many, many children and families.
In relation to Corey, to Carlos Coremba, to Pauline Hanson, to the One Nation team in South Australia, and now it's over to representing and respecting the views of the people of South Australia and making sure you're a good opposition. That is a job. And I have to say that the...
It's incredible that opposition these days is like these many seats. It's not even a full hand. I can't believe the amount of media confectioned about this whopping, thumping majority where the people have spoken, because can you believe it? There is a tidal wave that's happening. What's really happening? The vote is splitting in the coalition. Okay.
Labor Party obviously believes that One Nation's the opposition. That's
Sorry,
why
I thought this was a tremendous result for Labor. I thought this was a resounding result for the Labor Party and Peter Malinauskas.
So who preference who lost?
Look at this confusion in her face. Who? Good to see you back. Been overloading in victory smugness while at work at Olympic Dam, where One Nation flock can't cope with the Labor win. Long live Labor. Yeah, all right. See, this is what I'm wondering. When you're at the Dam, how many of them are Labor voters? Because that's prime territory for the Labor One Nation divide. The true competition would be there. You're so right. It's honestly astonishing, the sheer delusion. It really does remind me of the last election when the Greens did pretty damn badly. Really appallingly bad. And then you go online and it's like, this is actually the best result we've ever had. What do you make of the ABC's coverage of the results? Labor can't afford to...
Well, One Nation didn't lose seats at this election. Fuckwit.
...dine on the demise of the Liberal vote. Is this the start of Pauline Hanson's orange wave? Yes. All true. I really don't understand this. Labor can't be complacent. You know what that last election showed us? And I think that it'll show it routinely throughout the country. It seems like for every 1 seat One Nation jeopardizes for Labor, it jeopardizes like 20 for the coalition.
No one
what
cares.
Do you mean
We don't support
they can't be complacent? On top of
committed
this,
to
when are they
total
ever
liberal
not
debt.
complacent anyway? Like, it's the Labor Party you're talking about. They're complacent constantly. I mean, non-complacent constantly. They're never not complacent. That's their entire... They're just that can't talk, ain't ready cat-like position. That's them. Of course they're going to be... This is such a silly argument. And they're all saying it because I think that they want there to be some massive mega tidal wave here so they can be scared like they are.
I hope my voting for 2028. Probably One Nation.
It's just because they want to have that same feeling that the Democrats have in the United States. He did something again. No! But as you can clearly see, it's about 20% of the electorate. That makes a lot of sense. I can imagine 20% of the electorate finding it appealing when they're having every media outlet, a huge digital campaign that seems to have endless amounts of bots, which means they've got a lot of money coming from somewhere. Yes, I would imagine that 20% of the population would find One Nation's quote-unquote platform appealing.
Well, the Labor Party preference One Nation, Lars, because they're most fearful of One Nation. That they would prefer the Liberal Party.
Enough of Friendly Jordies. I want to see what Drew Pavlou said about Friendly Jordies hit job, because it was very interesting. Right down. Oh, sorry, we still got to talk about Auspill. Oh, I don't want to. Keep scrolling. I'm nearly there. Yeah, I think this is the... here we are, this is the earliest one. FriendlyJordies just released a video soothing about our NDIS investigation, claiming that it is all just a massive lie and scam because the Australian Labor Party fixed the issue by prosecuting 20, yes, a full 20 scammers since 2022. What an absolutely fucking retarded hack. Labor in New South Wales can't even get the New South Wales police to prosecute the Lebanese gangsters who tried to murder FriendlyJordies, yet he still worships them. What do they have on him? The FriendlyJordies Epstein files must be disgusting and terrifying. Release the files. That's funny, I've got to retweet that. Please. Release the Jordies file. Release the Jordies. That's funny. Good. FriendlyJordies is funny. They should debate. That would be hilarious. Oh, did you see this? That's not relevant.
Your YouTube moniker, but you're a high school teacher. You're not actually a professor.
Right. So, when I went to Yale, I was actually a math and physics major. I was declared a math and physics major.
Right. You know, he talks to an empty room. He talks to nobody in his lectures when he's saying, right, so what do you guys think about this? And he's talking into a room of nothing. It's like when I was 6 years old, when I'd pretend to be a teacher. That's honestly what he's doing. FriendlyJordies discovered that I was a leftist 6 years ago when I was 21 years old. Holy fucking shit. This guy's a top tier investigator. In real life, I am actually extremely open about the fact that I was a leftist for a long time before my politics changed. Everybody knows this. I don't hide any of my past views and posts. Ironically, it was actually scum exactly like Jordies who hounded me for years when I was on the left, to the point I eventually just abandoned the left on pure friend-enemy distinction grounds. Not good. That's not how you should conduct yourselves. You should not conduct yourself on... You should not form your worldview on friend-enemy distinction on... it's obviously good that he dumped the Labour Party, but that's why he's such a shill for Israel. Friend-enemy, because his enemies are Muslims, and he makes Israel his friend. The genocidal nation state that sends Islamic refugees to our country is our friend. Blackmails our politicians... overthrows our prime ministers. Not our friend, mate. Sorry. I was a member of Young Labour when I first protested against the Chinese Communist Party at the University of Queensland. I was aligned with Labour right. I asked multiple Labour politicians for help and I was unfairly targeted at the university. Kevin Rudd spoke out for me and Senator Kimberly Kitching helped me because she was a beautiful person with a nice heart. But sorry what happened to her. Evil, what Penny Wong and those other two biatches in the Labour Party did. But then she and Bill Shorten were ultimately purged by Alba. Everybody else inside the party hated me. I reached out to my local representative Terry Butler, who helped, and she told me there was nothing she could do. That was actually the woman who... I'm pretty sure that was the woman who succeeded Kevin Rudd in the seat of Griffin in South Brisbane after he resigned lost the election in 2013. I reached out to Penny Wong in her office, wrote back a formulaic email rather, telling me they wouldn't help. I've gotten letters from politicians before doing exactly that. It's so annoying. Later, I discovered that young Labour left kids had been going around to Labour MPs in Brisbane and telling them that I was a far-right racist being expelled for rape. Just utterly fucking insane and psychotic. Every news organisation in the country had a copy of my full UQ expulsion documents and verified that I was being unfairly targeted by UQ purely for my political views. Gotta stop and have a drink. Yet evil young Labour kids decided to make up fake rape allegations to tar my name for factional reasons. This was just the start of my long journey of being tortured by the left. It would escalate to years of death threats, doxing, swatting and bomb threats targeting my family. They reserved special hatred for me because I was basically a Labour right, moderate left type of guy who hated the far left. Past a certain point, I got tired of these people telling me that they wanted me dead. I decided that I would join the right because they were the only side who would protect me and fight the ultra-left head-on. Thank you, Drew. If in another life, if Bill Shorten and Kimberly Kitchen hadn't been poached by Albo, I probably would have been... Penny Wong essentially murdered Kimberly Kitchen. And that woman from Canberra, what's her name? And the other woman, I forget her name. Katie Gallagher and she resigned from Christina Keneally. That's her. If they are responsible for Kimberly Kitching's death. In another life, if Bill Shorten and Kimberly Kitching hadn't been poached by Albo, I probably would have remained a leftist. There would have been a strong anti-communist Labour right faction instead of the practically non-existent shite that passes for Labour right today. I watched the Instagram stories of guys I knew from my Labour right days, and they're all shilling for Zoran now and Hassan Parker. They completely bent the knee to communists. It's fucking over. FriendlyJordies is crying, screaming, and lashing out at me because he sees that I am gathering new strength. Jordan, you are cucked. Chris Minns won't even pick up the phone to the police commissioner to charge the Alameddines who firebombed you. How hard would it be for him to just pick up the phone and do this? They could do it today. If I were Chris Minns, I would ring up the police commissioner this very second and scream, "What the fuck are you doing? Charge the lib gangsters who tried to kill my top media guy." But they care more about jihadi votes in Western Sydney than the life of their number one media backer in the country. You are literally the Carl Sanderlands of Labour shilling, and they can't even bother to get the New South Wales police to protect you. How cuck can you be? Ooh, Allah, liberate this man from his cuckdom. Yes, we've got to call on Allah. We've got to pray towards Mecca and pray that Allah liberates FriendlyJordies from his cuckdom and liberates him from the evil Zionist entity of the Labour Party. The evil Zionist-controlled entity of the Labour Party. Evil! This is important as well. The reason... just scratch my nail on something below the table. This is... Wow, that's dusty. This is what was below me that I just scratched my nail on. Can you recognise what this is? I want you to guess. I'm not going to brush it off for you tonight. I want you to guess. Guess what this is. Guess what this is a portrait of. And if somebody gets it right, I will tell you if you are right. It's fucked. I've had this for 18 months. It's just been under my desk. Oh my goodness. I've got to put it back now. Oh, I think you can make it out what it is. There you go. It's very dusty. This is the problem with me. I clean my room and immediately it turns into a pigsty. It goes to shit every single time. It's April. I probably should clean this room and let it all get dirty for winter, so I can trap as much heat in the room as possible. Where are we? The reason FriendlyJordies made a new video screeching about me today is because he is terrified. The Labour shills are actually afraid now. I think it was the latest Cosamaris Fredridge poll that did it. Labour 29% to One Nation 27%. They were anxious before, but now they are in full panic mode because Cos ran the numbers and their nightmare scenario is genuinely within reach. It's ironic because I haven't even once endorsed One Nation. I'm more of a Hastie guy. Speaking of cucked, Andrew Hastie screwed us over. He said he was going to vote against the hate speech bill, the Bondi bill that was passed, to address the concerns raised after the Bondi massacre and the problems that were shown to exist in Australia because of the Bondi massacre, and which the bill, of course, did not address, but rather just restricted the speech of nationalists, the only people who actually had a solution to prevent more events like Bondi, and made it harder for sports shooters and farmers to acquire weaponry. So fucking cuck. Why do you support Andrew Hastie? He's came out against the war in Iran. Now, obviously that's not sincere, he's just grifting. But why, Drew? Why? And why Jordies? Why? Grow a fucking pair. But the Labour hacks are terrified, so they lash out. They see that I am now objectively one of the largest influences of the insurgent populist right, so they lash out in fear and terror. I've got a very important Substack article coming out in which it'll come out soon, hopefully, in which I hypothesize that Freya Leach and Drew Pavlou will be pushed as the two right-wing influences because they are both pro-America, but more importantly pro-Israel, and they don't really believe in race realism or any racial questions about immigration. They mostly just shut the borders or only let in countries that are favourable to Israel. That's literally Freya Leach believes that. Her entire personality is fake. She's been reinvented how many times now? She's been introduced how many times now? And every single time it's failed. Maybe this time it'll be successful because she's got a podcast. But everything about her is fake. She's been planned from the beginning. Do you know how she got famous? No, we'll save that story for another time. That's why you should subscribe to my Substack. I should really put the links in the description. But if you put on the mini player and go to my channel and click on links, and you can go to my Substack and follow me there. Not relevant, no. Exactly, that's what the entire video by FriendlyJordies was about. I watched the FriendlyJordies video on Drew Pavlou. Essentially, Jordan was mocking Drew for being inspired by Nick Shelley's Ford investigated videos, and that Drew changing his way of thinking somehow makes Drew disingenuous. Jordan Shanks has unfortunately made a big mistake. Jordan Shanks has objectively been much worse for the country than Drew Pavlou. Yes. Oh my god, latest FriendlyJordies video is about Drew Pavlou. I'm not ready for this. I really think it'll sink through. No, it wasn't. Actually, I might not address the Auspill. I can't tomorrow night because Lights are playing. I don't know, we might watch the first video Drew Pavlou did on FriendlyJordies, because that was very funny. FriendlyJordies did on Drew Pavlou, rather. Surely this will finish Drew Pavlou. This is funny. That's not relevant, but that's it. That's the best picture from Saturday's No Kings protest in the USA. The literal Statue of Liberty being detained by the police. It doesn't get more poetic than this. It's not the literal Statue of Liberty. It's a libtard dressed up as the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Libtard, if you will. I do speak fast. I should slow down my speaking. Drew is very spooked here because Jordan has a greater reach than him, and the last thing Drew needs... A transgender flag, of course. I thought that we left this trans stuff behind us years ago. And the last thing Drew needed was an economic populist who cannot accuse you of being woke clowning on his NDIS claims. They see that I am now some guy says they see that I am now objectively one of the largest influencers. Drew, nobody knows who you are outside of 10,000 online Australian political nerds. X is not real life. Also, listen and read close analysis. One Nation is fragmenting the right-wing vote. Labour vote is consolidated and rock solid. The richest man in the world, and Drew Pavlou said in response, the richest man in human history follows my post, and the President of the United States called the Australian Prime Minister at 2 a.m. last week over my tweets. I am only 26, so this is my flaw. By the time I am 50, I will have disastrously changed history. Buy a ticket, enjoy the ride. Oh, he's always jacking himself off as well. Yeah, I shouldn't spend too much more on this. I really should address the Auspill saga, because that's what people wanted me to talk about. The latest I might do it in the afternoon, sometime tomorrow midday, but I don't know if anybody will be watching. The latest FriendlyJordies video. Do you think I should talk about Auspill tonight, or talk about it tomorrow, sometime in the afternoon, time around midday? Because I've only been streaming for like 80 minutes, but you know, I'm getting worn out. Whatever. The latest FriendlyJordies video attacking me is utterly insane. He admits that the NDIS is a giant make-work program, essentially a universal basic income scheme in all but name. He then claims with zero evidence that the NDIS provides an alternative economic model to mass migration, even though we import workers to work in the NDIS. Stay tuned, turn on notifications. I will be doing a video on the myth of skilled migration and going over some of the occupations this government considers skilled and provides automatic entry for. He then concludes by turning to the camera and asking, if not for the NDIS, how else would you get economic growth? The dole? Really good insight into how utterly intellectually barren the labour movement has become. They have literally zero ideas for economic growth other than paying people to engage in completely unproductive pursuits like ditch digging. We should be thinking of how to build an Australian version of TSMC. Yes, positioning Australia as an absolute leader in some critical technology of the future. I'm liking the way Drew Pavlou is thinking right now. We should be thinking about high-tech manufacturing. Yes, building nuclear power plants. Yes, reaching for the stars. Yes, we should go to the moon. We should build a spaceport and go to the moon. With the cost of 10 years of the NDIS spending, we could build 150 subway stations across the 5 major Australian cities. I'm a gunzel. I love this. Bring the Paris, London, New York City Metro to Sydney, Melbourne, Perth and Brisbane. You know, nobody knows this, but I've actually designed entirely full-fledged metro system for Brisbane on the Google My Maps tool. I've also designed one for Sydney, Perth, and Melbourne as well. And I think Adelaide as well. Maybe I should release it. I'll publish it sometime and you can give it some thoughts. We could build high-speed rail down our eastern seaboard, Brisbane to Gold Coast in 15 minutes, Sydney to Melbourne in 1.5 hours. We could build 50 nuclear power plants like France, decarbonise our entire energy grid while making ourselves self-sufficient in energy for the next 100 years. Nah, mate, shovel more cash into the NDIS fraud furnace instead. Such unearned arrogance from a bunch of intellectually pissants with zero vision.
Part of our economic growth now, what happened to the good old days? Where the fuck do you want the economic growth to come from? More migration? You want more of this mob in here, do you?
At least Cosmaris is intelligent. Oh, we read that. How convenient is it that the only union that is against mass migration to fill job shortages is also conveniently the only union that Labour actually hates and is demonised in the press? Let's watch this. Alright. You give the Australian people wrong information. In our NDIS video, we discovered by pure chance a Sydney black market money laundering business run up by a Hezbollah supporter running next to Sunny Days Care. We went back to Allah Fadheli's shop, Abra Money Services. Sure, I wonder if something called a business called Money Services is potentially involved in money laundering. You know, that really boggles the mind, doesn't it? Maybe, maybe not. I brought Money Services to ask him about the recent police detention he received as a result of our video. He seemed happy to see us, but became extremely agitated when asked about his Facebook posts supporting Hezbollah, a banned terrorist organisation in Australia.
So, top of your camera.
What was wrong with the information? What was wrong with the information?
Yeah, what was wrong with the information? Okay. Right next to the scam NDIS shop in West Sydney, there's a cash business called
it is
Abra Money Services.
Why do I have that?
Abra Money Transfer Business.
I asked it from my local member one day, and they said, "Hey, we have some in stock. We finally have some in stock." And I said, "Oh, cool. I might pick it up." And they said, "Cool, come pick it up." And then I picked it up.
So it's run by this guy called Allah Al.
I know how to tell the story. I know.
Facing criminal charges. We don't know exactly what criminal charges he's facing. Hello.
I want to say thank you first.
Yeah, thank you.
Too many customers call me.
Yeah.
You bring me a lot of customers.
Come on!
Thank you.
Yes! Yeah, they're good stuff. He also runs a tobacco shop.
I hope the glare on the face cam's not bothering
We sent somebody
anybody.
to the shop. They picked up a packet of Manchester's.
Do I get the Manchester cigarettes?
Which are the most prolific counterfeit black market brand on the market, basically imported in massive quantities from the Middle East.
There it is.
Top of your camera. Yeah.
What was wrong with the information? What was wrong with the information?
Yeah, what was wrong with the information?
Okay, I'm not in the interview. Please.
This is Abra Money Services. We're just asking questions.
But you we're just trying to wonder, so you've had criminal charges recently?
Or you give the tribunal wrong information. Please, stop your camera.
This was the court documents from New South Wales
Alright.
court.
Okay. Just come in here.
Is it true that you sent money to Iraq?
Brother.
Yes.
We're in Australia.
You support Hezbollah?
Are you sending money to...
What do you say?
Oh, you posted on your Facebook about Nasrallah and Hezbollah?
Who?
Your Facebook page. You posted about Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader. Yeah.
Okay. Why you don't choose?
If somebody set up a money laundering business to launder money to the NSN, 100 police officers would be knocking down their doors immediately before you could say the NSN is banned or something. Before you could say FriendlyJordies is a fucking idiot.
It's a terrorist group in Australia.
No. Why you don't choose the cross in my Facebook? Always I say Merry Christmas, Happy Easter for all the community. I am businessman.
I'm not a businessman. Right, but you posted
my
about
public Facebook. Listen, in my public Facebook, there is for the church. There is for the too many helping from my office to the Christian. Okay,
but
people, why
you know in Australia that it's
say thank you because you have my business.
But
really, you're making more money. How are you making more money?
You know it's a terrorist organization in Australia, Hezbollah.
Are you actually sending money to Iraq?
They bring money from Iraq and build here.
Deport? No, there is no reason that man should not be deported. I don't even care if he's guilty. There's no reason for him to be in this country. Alright, so... Not much else to cover regarding FriendlyJordies and Drew Pavlou. Oh, look at this. Labour NDIS Minister Mark Butler admits that the NDIS is out of control. Great comments by Nick Coatsworth. The 5 things that the Australian budget funds. You've got health, aged care, defence, NDIS and interest payments. One of those benefits 800,000 people and the rest of 28 million. When are we going to transfer some of the... Sorry, just dropped something. When are we going to transfer some of the NDIS funding into people who have paid taxes all their lives and are now stuck in public hospitals? I favour restricting NDIS to $25 billion a year, reserving the program for severe disability. Possibly redesign it as a publicly run program like Medicare rather than the private market with legions of market fraud providers. I've already read that. Yeah, I don't know. We've still got to talk about family first. I'll only talk about it a little bit. I'm thinking I might talk about Auspill and Beck Freedom tomorrow. Yeah, maybe around lunchtime, maybe in the evening. Maybe, yeah, probably, maybe tomorrow. Oh no, I've got to edit a video. You know what, we'll talk about it. Back freedom. Oh, what the hell's going on? Right. Nice. Oh, alright, so we may not actually have to address it, but maybe she's apologised. To all the supporters of March for Australia, since August 2025, we have been building this movement from the ground up and working our asses off doing so. That work continues and will never stop. Many of you have raised concerns about the website and social media accounts being neglected. Here's the truth. Hugo, Auspill, created those accounts in August without my authorization. I made the mistake of allowing him a role in this movement, and that mistake has cost us time and momentum. For several months, we requested access to the website and accounts. He ignored every single request. This pattern of being generally non-contactable is nothing new. On Australia Day, Hugo was meant to be an organiser of the march, but he bowed at the last minute and somebody else had to step in to carry the load. Given the growth of this movement and the volume of complaints from our people, I issued a final ultimatum. 24 hours to hand over access. Ultimatum, what power do you hold? I was not asking for ownership. I was not pushing him out of the team. He was free to speak at events and remain involved. I simply needed control of our own platforms. He refused. Today he went further, removing my access to the X and Facebook accounts entirely. Let me be direct. There is nothing for a genuine Australian nationalist to gain by sabotaging an Australian nationalist movement. His actions raise serious questions about his motives, and I will be addressing those in full via an upcoming video. This is not a setback. This is a filter. It is also tough love. Yeah, you know, March for Australia, the Australian nationalist movement needs some filtering, and Beck Freedom will be filtered out. How is it that a young man with so much potential to help us win has been such a hindrance to our movement? I think that's the pot calling the kettle black, although, unlike Beck Freedom, never had any potential to really help us win. I mean, she can assist, sure, but help us win. So many patriots have worked tirelessly every single day out of desperation and fear that we may not have a country anymore in a few decades. And one boy acting out of self-interest and ego is diminishing all yours in our efforts. I want to make this very clear to you all. This movement that all patriots have given their time and energy to will not be sabotaged by cowardice or ego. Yeah, that's why we let the NSN hijack the first march. We don't want this march sabotaged by cowardice or ego. Although they wouldn't believe there's anything wrong with that. If anything, they'd think that was good, and they'd call me some sort of race traitor. We will ensure that the survival of our nation and the existence of our people is of the utmost importance, regardless of the perceived reputation or public standing. We are building our platform. We are rebuilding our platforms as we speak, although I'm hoping one of you may be able to convince him that this is a very bad decision he has made. But if not, we would like to call upon all patriots with skills in marketing, video editing, graphic design, and automation to come forward and assist in growing this movement even stronger and more powerful. You can direct all inquiries to my personal accounts. Much love and respect for you all. Stay tuned for future updates. This is what she must have replied to him. So things are ridiculous now. I've been getting crap for months about how unorganized and unprofessional I am due to our socials and unorganized and next line. Due to our socials and website not being kept up to date. I've dealt with it, but now our hardworking organizers are getting abused or questioned and dealing with being told we are unorganized. It's embarrassing and degrading when we are doing everything we can. It has been 6 months of me asking you for access to these things that were all made without consultation with me before I'd even agreed to let you officially come on board back in August. This is what will happen now. I need full access to the website, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter within the next 24 hours, or I'll have to open new ones. This also means that we've wasted hundreds of dollars in flyers and promotional material and people's times. When I advertise the new ones, I'll be telling everyone why we had to start them. Several people already know and are biting their tongue under my request. If you don't want to hand them over willingly, we'll be happy to purchase them off you. And her full control was removed. So I want to take a look at what Auspill had to say on his Telegram. Let's see. To clarify, the March for Australia name, branding, website, and social infrastructure were set up independently before any involvement from Beck. I'm inclined to believe that. Access hasn't been handed over because the organisation is being pushed in a fundamentally different direction without agreement. You know, he's gotten bodied in the responses, but I agree. The March for Australia was brought as a national mobilisation platform, a way to coordinate large-scale messaging and bring patriots to the streets around a staunch, unified message. That's how it gained traction, and that's the role as a founder I believe it should continue to serve. Sorry, my eyes just spit itchy. Stink. Over the past few weeks, there's been a push to expand the March for Australia into a standing activist network with chapters, ongoing events, and decentralised activity. While I've consistently said I support increased activity in principle, expanding March for Australia into a broad activist model is a different structure. I believe that activist organisation is stronger as a separate but aligned organisation. I'm out of breath. Speaking faster than Roadrunner. Speaking faster than the Roadrunner runs the entire night. Rather than absorbing everything into one banner. The March for Australia should remain focused on national mobilisation, yes, while separate groups focus on activism and local organising. Those separate groups can form under March for Australia for demonstrations, yes. That creates a broader ecosystem rather than one organisation trying to do everything. If others want to continue building out the activist network, they're free to do so under a new structure or join the many which presently exist. So at first, I was inclined to side with Beck Freedom because why would you do that? Why would Auspill seemingly attempt to sabotage a nationalist movement unless he's some form of operatives? He was a plan to hijack the movement, because I was thinking, well, there was that hiatus where he was away and he wasn't doing anything, and we'd all pretty much forgotten about him, and then he returned the night that the March for Australia started gaining some traction. It was the 11th of April. It wasn't too popular. I found out about it because I was coming home from the Echo on the train, and I saw, oh look, March for Australia on the 31st. That's very interesting. And it was, it gained some traction, but it wasn't too popular until Auspill popularized it an hour after I saw it, which really pushed the idea of a March for Australia, and which really made it go viral. And I thought, and seeing how both he and Scott Challen have split from March for Australia, and both you'd have a vested interest. Ordinarily would have a vested interest in continuing mass migration. Scott Challen's a builder. He's got a company worth millions of dollars that he operates in the Greater Brisbane area. And Auspill, he comes from the Lennon family, one of the richest families in Australia, worth almost $1 billion. His grandfather used to be the chair of the Pitt Limited, which is one of the largest property organisations in Australia. Tony Lennon, I believe his name was. And I believe his father is Anthony Lennon, who is a senior figure in the company. So you have him coming from one of the richest families in Australia. And we've seen, this is the second time, what would have been the second time, which the somebody who has a vested interest in continuing mass migration has split from the March for Australia. Although he would have taken the march, taken the march from Australia away from them. So I thought maybe there's something sus with Auspill, but then I saw the way, and I had a little thought about it. I went on a walk today to get some sunlight. I need some more sunlight, and I need to lose weight. I was thinking about it, and this actually makes a lot of sense, but I want to tell you why Beck turned me off. I want to show you the way she has been conducting herself, and John Lawson. Bro, stop! Why is she still following me? Anyways, here we are, Auspill. Yeah, as I said, I'm inclined to stand more with Auspill at this point after seeing Beck's conduct. And Auspill stands with Africans who he takes uninvited to white nationalist parties. It didn't have to be this way, but hey, gotta love modern Australia, right? Like, honestly, what are you getting at? Seems like you're just throwing accusations now and seeing what sticks. What does a guy hanging out at a party have to do with your original claim? Well, seriously, Beck's right. Drew's right. Sorry. Yeah, she needs to get a grip. Who cares if in his spare time, even if Auspill opposes mass migration, hangs out with somebody he's half white. He's half black. I'm pretty sure he's half black, half white. And I personally don't enjoy his content, but whatever. That's beside the point. The host was Chill AF. Sorry you weren't invited. He hold his World War I bayonet artifact. That's cool. From Sydney, you retard. She thinks that's so funny. I motion Molgi, the mixed race bioweapon has done more for your movement, get replaced. That's funny. And this, absolutely disgusting. You are a Kalogi mutt. You mog nothing. And this person correctly said low IQ racism is retarded. Who do you think you are to speak to another person in your movement like that? What the hell is wrong with you? I do not want anything to do with you if that is how you conduct yourself, calling people based on their appearance a mutt. Did you know? People point to the Kalogi plan as some sort of sinister plot by, you guessed it, the Jews to replace whites, to create a mixed race of Europeans, but Kalogi wasn't even Jewish. He was half Austrian, half Japanese, and he didn't say that's what he wanted to happen. That's not what he was planning for. He wrote. I'm pretty sure he wrote a book. He predicted that could be one day what Europe would become, mixed between whites, Asians, and Africans. Nothing sinister. He wasn't planning for the total extinction of the European peoples as we know it. That's not what he was planning for. And seeing Beck. Yeah, buzzword. I highly doubt she has any idea as to what those words mean. It seems as though Beck's just got unaddressed grievances with Hugo at this point, right? And she's willing to burn down the March for Australia, wanting to burn down what we built just because she's been excluded from it. And now, seeing the way she's conducted herself, maybe there's a reason she's being banned from it. I want to show you what Syrian girl had to say about her. Karen, when the fucking idiotic pro-Palestine protesters are marching, and last month when in February now, when Isaac Herzog came to Australia, a lot of people like her, but like Beck, were genuinely supportive of the way the police treated those leftists. But they had a shit-flinging match. Anyone who currently signaling anti-Israel protests in Australia are unwittingly or wittingly working for the Zionist lobby. And I don't want these Muslims in Australia to turn this country into the world's largest battleground so they can battle out their ancient blood feuds, but I'm inclined to side more with Palestine. One, because Israel's committing a genocide in Palestine, and two, I don't want Israel bombing any more countries so they can send the refugees down south. Any foreigner actively residing in the country of Australia is wittingly unwittingly working with the Zionist lobby. That's retarded. That doesn't make any sense. While it is true that Zionists have played a major role in pushing for the non-white immigration to Australia, it's also true that many of those immigrants have joined with white Australia to oppose Zionism. In this context, actually that's not really relevant. Have you noticed he never wanted to ban non-whites from anti-COVID protests, just anti-Israel protests? Extremely sus. Here we are. Cunt, what the fuck are you playing at right now? Always crass, and she's not funny. She doesn't have any class or demeanor or what's the word I'm looking for? Charisma, that's the word I'm looking for. She doesn't have any charisma when she swears off, when she goes off, the same way that somebody like Nick Fuentes would. Who's real. He's completely real. He has a lot of charisma, and Beck Freedom does not. Cunt, what the fuck are you playing at right now? Why are you trying to undermine an Australian grassroots nationalist movement? Whatever arguments you are having with you and Jesse are between you and Jesse. I believe that Jesse and Beck are husband and wife. But at this point, you are attacking one of the March for Australia's organisers and trying to turn your followers against the March for Australia by implying we are supportive of pro-Jewish rhetoric and against anti-Jewish protests. Obviously, Beck Freedom and her husband are not working for the Jews, so that's nonsense. Are you that thick that you still don't get it, even though it's been explained to you several fucking times? You are all foreigners to us. Yes, Syrian girl is a foreigner and should be deported. You are on such thin ice that I'm surprised you aren't drowning yet. Pull your fucking head in and stop acting like the spastic foreigner you are. This is our country, and now you are fucking with an Australian nationalist. Shut your fucking mouth now. You wonder why Jesse called you subversive. This shit is right here. I'm going to take a breath and have a drink of water, and then we're going to get into what Syrian girl said to her, which everybody thinks about Beck Freedom. Even if they won't say it, everybody thinks that about Beck Freedom. While I catch my breath, I'll see what people are saying in the live chat. I'll still got a couple of you. Say hi if you're watching. Right. How's the audio going? Oh, yeah, it's going good. Say hi. Still, not so active, but. Oh, here we are. Just bitch fight. Imagine if they were 20 years younger, honestly. Bitch, you are actually reviled by most people in the nationalist movement who find you to be a low IQ bogan and a terrible representative. She's right. Let me make it clear, as a foreign-born, but I've always made a point of not to interfere with your movement. I'm a part of the anti-Zionist lobby movement. I do not want to believe the thing I was taught about you, but it seems I was wrong not doing so. But your husband and his overinflated ego is the worst thing you have done. Maybe Syrian girl was informed by somebody about how Beck conducts herself and is willing to screw over the nationalist movement for her own benefit. As we've seen with Auspill and the Beck Freedom saga. And the rest of it isn't really important, but where Syrian girl called Beck Freedom a low IQ bogan who was reviled by most people in the nationalist movement. Completely right. 110% right. Everybody hate's a strong word. Everybody reviles her. That's a better word. Everybody does not want Beck Freedom, a bogan woman who's 50 years old, conducts herself with absolutely no class, uses buzzwords she does not understand, has no charisma when she's swearing off. Most people don't want that. Terrible representative, terrible optics, terrible look for a nationalist movement that wants to be taken seriously. No wonder we aren't taken seriously by intelligent people because... hold on. I should start to wind up soon. Because, I've lost my train of thought. Because we love people like Beck Freedom and... a Syrian girl as well, even though Syrian girl, as she said, doesn't really talk about immigration. we allow people like Beck Freedom to lead our movement. And I want to... actually, I might see what Beck Freedom had to say. That's Beck Freedom. Name Beck Freedom, that's enough. Hey everybody, I want to apologise for last night's mess. Things got a bit out of hand on certain platforms, and for that I apologise. Being suddenly locked out of the social media accounts I've personally managed for the past 6 months needed to be made public, as it left me unable to respond to messages, approve comments, posts or member requests. However, I'd also like to tell you to stay tuned and get excited. Thankfully, we already have a plan in motion. Losing access to the current platforms will make things a little bit more challenging, as we'll have less to leverage for growing our new ones beyond my personal accounts. We were already planning to rebrand community meets. Since we aren't actually marching to them, continuing with the March for Australia name long term wasn't going to work nor make sense. The original idea was to build the meets using the support and energy from our existing platform, March for Australia, and then transition them into a sister group, running both alongside each other but as separate entities. The community meets were never designed to draw from March for Australia's momentum and supporter base, eventually evolving into something even bigger. Higo Auspill wasn't aware of these details because he was never involved enough to actually be a part of the team and our discussions. He called a team meeting to discuss this but didn't show up, which is unfortunately not unusual for him. A large portion of the March for Australia team was already involved and will be holding a meeting soon to refine our original plan. Thank you to everyone who had my back last night and sent supportive messages. I received a lot of them with offers of help and assistance and will reply as soon as I can. While we're in this transitional phase, I will be stepping back a bit from managing the Telegram group and chats, but we'll have plenty of awesome mods and admin over there. East Caesar I will be enjoying with my children good, and most of my spare time will be going into getting everything set up, organised and getting the content ready for our launch. I hope you all have an amazing Easter break. And classic feministic bureaucratic nonsense, gossip and gab completely derailing something that should have been done with tact. I don't know what compromising the YouTube censors allowed me to say that. I won't. Auspill has been up to, and this situation clearly indicates that he's heavily into female-coded political wankery, but the notion that March for Australia should be kept separate from localised activism is sensible. All in all, I have no idea why I'm reading about petty squabbles between ostensibly right-wing factions, but fuck you for bringing it to my attention. I understand that from your perspectives, this is very tangible, relevant, and filled with personal meaning, but y'all are actually fucking retarded. Now, I want to go over what Auspill said, but first I've got to go to the toilet and get something. So, and then I'll continue probably for another half hour or hour more. And then I'll finish for the night. So, I'll be back in a minute or so. I'm back. I will just fix up the webcam and then we will get back on track. Where am I? Here we are. I fixed up the webcam, so my hair's a bit messy. It's alright. Oh, sorry about the glare on the camera, the webcam. Hopefully that's not bothering you. We've got one viewer. Say hi. So, Auspill removed. What we know is that Auspill removed back from March Australia. Maybe she isn't being entirely truthful as to why she was removed from the March Australia accounts, because as we know, this is the second time that there has been a split in the March Australia. The first time was a couple of months ago in Brisbane when Scott Challen and his gang split from March Australia because of the involvement of the NSN, and I think the involvement of the NSN is part of the reason why Auspill is in this mess to begin with. So I'll talk more about the Scott Challen March Australia saga. So I have to go back to the first March. So the first March for Australia, official numbers were like 50,000, 75,000 there. I think it was more like 500,000, and there would have been like 200 NSN members in uniform there at most. But because that's who the media focused on, because they were in uniform and constantly punching people in the streets, even if it was justified, even if it was self-defense, that's not what the media ran with. And the people, there was a video I saw of a man who was in tears because his daughters were terrified, but they were scared because of the NSN people in the NSN uniforms. And that's how a lot of people felt. They are against mass migration, but they don't want to be lumped in with the idiotic NSN LARPers marching in uniform, thinking they're the fucking brown shirts, Hitler's personal bodyguards, Hitler's personal army, to punch people up in the street and scream the N-word, screaming blood and honor like the LARPers they are. It's honestly embarrassing. This is why so much less people came to the second march than the first march. And you may something I noticed, that the only march that on Australia, and the third march had even less people, that was held on Australia Day, partly because it was on Australia Day, people wanted to spend with their families at the beach, and partially because it was 40 fucking degrees in every capital city. But the only city in which had a decent showing was Brisbane. Now, the reason Scott Challen split from March for Australia and set up Australian marches is because of the involvement of the NSN and how much influence the NSN wielded within the March for Australia apparatus. And because the NSN was banned from the Brisbane Australia marches, and it was the only march, there was a rifle march on the Gold Coast that got like 1,000 people, probably at most. There were, I said, 20,000 people there. That's what the police numbers say. So there were likely a bit more, maybe 25, 30,000 people at the Brisbane Australia Day march, because they didn't have the third of the NSN there, even though at this point the NSN had folded. And I saw something just before Australia Day in which Auspill made a tweet criticising Scott Challen. And he didn't really say anything after that. So I'm thinking, and Chris Coveries was had a photo of Scott Challen, Joel Jamal himself, and Auspill at the they went to some event in the United States. Here they are. That's one, but there's another one I want to take a look at. That's all four of them posing together. There it is. Oh, that's not relevant. I tell them detag themselves. but his discovery is Auspill, Joel Jamal, and Scott Challen. So Auspill and Scott Challen, I don't believe were on friendly terms, at least by beginning Australia Day. But something must have happened between then and there, which Auspill and Scott Challen must have reconciled. And I believe that Auspill saw why Scott Challen left the March for Australia, and that the March for Australia didn't tell the whole story, and that maybe the Australia marchers, or March for Australia Queensland, I'll try to call them, maybe they were right in splitting from the March for Australia because they were just suffocated by back freedom. And I was going to make a video on Scott Challen, but I was told not to. Somebody who knows both Auspill and Scott Challen in person, I'm not going to say who, but this person told me not to make a video on Scott Challen. So I'm thinking he must know something that the rest of us don't, that maybe Auspill and Scott Challen are on speaking terms, and that maybe Scott Challen was in the right all along. That's what I'm thinking. But of course, it'll be interesting to see how the next couple of days play out in the Australian national sphere. We've really only got one more day before the Easter break, which will be away for almost a week. So it'll be, as I said, it'll be interesting to see it. And what do you guys think? Who do you think? Oh, still got to talk about this. Access hasn't been handed because the organisation is being pushed in a fundamentally different direction without agreement. Alright, so the March for Australia was built as a national mobilisation platform, a way to coordinate large-scale messaging and bring pages to the street around a staunch unified message. So part of the reason I started warm with Auspill because I finally got around to watching the interview John Lawson did with Auspill. And he actually interviewed me a couple of months before. It didn't turn out very well. It was my first ever interview. It was so awkward. There's a point where I had to blow my nose, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't end up, so I just sounded nasally for a couple of minutes. So anyways, I watched that, and I realized this Auspill guy, he is sincere in his beliefs. Like his story of how he became red-pilled on race and nationalism adds up. And this is a man who deeply, deeply cares about our movement, and that, I was wrong in my first beliefs about him. I thought he was not maybe sus or maybe a plant, but this is a man who believes what he is espousing. This is a man who deeply cares about our movement, and I wish he wasn't in the United States all the time. But the kind of content Auspill creates, he's very good at creating short-form TikToks and Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts that can go viral, just pointing out the dumbest things about the UKification of Australia. Things like women feeling unsafe around refugees, and okay, there's a TikTok up, Auspill TikTok. There you go. Because he's Gen Z, he's able to connect very well with the humour of generation, and he's able to create
One Nation's known as
cool
better
edits,
economic.
and he's actually correct.
One Nation's known as better economic managers. They're known as being the anti-immigration party. A big push towards the far right isn't necessarily people's immediate economic concerns. It is literally that Australians are sick of being replaced in their own country, and they're looking toward the party.
Things like this. Not so much as live streams, but the sound bites he makes where he records himself saying, immigrants are bad or whatever. That like this.
Bro, this kid went through a nightmare. His family was drifting out to sea. It was getting dark. It was getting cold. His mum said to him, "Look, we're gonna die if you don't swim to shore and get us help." So this 13-year-old swam 4 kilometers to the shore. He gets to the beach, he collapses from exhaustion, but thankfully he thought, there's people here, I can ask them for help. He goes and asks them for help, but guess what? they're all foreigners, bro. They like didn't understand him, or they couldn't help him, or they didn't want to help him.
There was a lot of foreign people on the beach, so I couldn't really.
Yeah, just imagine being someone not really politically engaged, but maybe a little bit politically engaged, but you want to get into politics and you don't know where to start. And you see a video of this relatively
bro, this kid went through
a homo on your screen. So and you see, he's talking about what ugly reaction to teen swimming hero comment, and what they didn't speak English. He saved his family. What's going on?
He was drifting
Auspill lays the groundwork to red pill this person on immigration and race and demographics, and Auspill is fantastic at doing that. That's what he really should be focused on. I don't know why he's in America all the time, why he's overseas. Doing this content, if he just does this content, who knows where he'll be in a year. Maybe I would not be surprised if he just commits to doing this a year, 5 short form videos like this a day. Within a year, he had easily 1 million followers if his account isn't banned. He's at an account that's banned, so maybe on Instagram instead. He's got 100,000 followers on Instagram. But good videos like this are good. Memes like this are good. He knows how to meme. He knows how to appeal to people in my generation. And there was a video. I'm not going to play it. Just talk. I still want to talk about Auspill, where he dropped some leftist tried to attack him, and he dropped them. So I'm really liking just reevaluating Auspill, giving him a second thought. I'm really liking his content. I'm really liking him as a person. I'm really liking what he can bring to the nationalist movement in the future. So where are we? Over the past few weeks, there's been a push to expand the March for Australia into a standing activist network with chapters of ongoing events and decentralized activity. While I've consistently said I support increased activity in principle, expanding March for Australia into a broader activist model is a different structure. I believe the activist organisation is stronger as a separate but aligned organisation rather than absorbing everything into one banner. March for Australia should remain focused on national mobilisation, while separate groups focus on ongoing activists and local organising, and those separate groups can form under the March for Australia for demonstrations. This is correct. I think there's been, this is just a conspiracy theory, but I think there is a concerted attempt by what is left of what was the National Socialist Network, the NSN, to try and hijack the March for Australia, try and stage a coup d'etat, to essentially make the March for Australia 2.0, and because the NSN was rendered illegal, or they actually banned themselves before they were rendered illegal, but they were essentially rendered illegal by new hate speech laws banning them and Islamic terrorist groups, but it was mainly aimed at them. I believe what they're gunning for is to try and get the March for Australia ban, try and present it as, even if they do present it as some sort of overt, implicitly or maybe even overtly Hitlerian Nazi organization, and then government attempts to ban the March for Australia, they can run with that at grift and say, hey, look, the government's trying to ban protesting immigration. And then everybody will support them. Everybody will line up behind them, even though they don't know what they're supporting. And even if long term this will hurt us, if neo-Nazis control all our levels of power. And I don't think Auspill is opposed in principle to having the NSN or something, a daughter organisation to the NSN, existing alongside Australian marches, or the Australian lobby group, I should say, or civic nationalists, or environmental nationalists, or people for whatever reason who want to stop immigration. I don't think he opposes in principle of having what was left of the NSN marching under the March for Australia banner, just not hijacking the March for Australia banner for their benefit to the exclusion of everybody else. So I think giving Auspill a second thought, he is 100% justified. I don't know with the veracity of the claims that he's not been attending webinars that the March for Australia leadership hold. It's probably true because he's always overseas, but he really should be. I reckon Beck Freedom is 96% in the wrong, and Auspill is like 4% in the wrong, just because he didn't. I believe this could have all been avoided because it looks like Auspill and Beck Freedom are mostly on the same page. Although Beck Freedom she's completely been taken over by the NSN. Absolute nonsense. She's buddies with members of the NSN, which I don't have a problem with. Grown adults can associate with whomever they please. But she lets these people lead the march in uniform, mind you, lets them speak at the on the open mic, which is not what we need. We do not need neo-Nazis, actual Hitlerians, to be hijacking our marches and just calling for. They weren't calling for genocide, but that is what the people still associate with the neo-Nazis, and we need to be wasting political capital on trying to rehabilitate Nazism and Hitlerism. So I think in the future, I think it's a moot point now, but Auspill should have attended the March for Australia webinars, the meetings they had with the March for Australia leadership, and I reckon most of this could have been avoided. So that is my thoughts on the Auspill Beck Freedom saga. I've been streaming for almost 2.5 hours. This is the longest time I've ever riffed off. Just gone off the cuff. How many people are watching now? The NSN are pagan, right? They do use pagan iconography. A lot of them are pagan. I wouldn't say any of them are actually pagan style. I don't believe any of them would be religious pagans. There might be one or two of them, but most of them are just LARPing. The same way, I heard somebody in year 12 at school. I heard somebody call themselves Catholic by blood. My ancestry was Catholic. Now she probably considered herself Catholic, but she wasn't actually Catholic. Probably something like that. And I believe that the rest of the NSN are, I believe they're Christians, mostly Catholic and Orthodox. And what I've heard is that Thomas saw. Actually, I'm not sure. Actually, I might not repeat that. So where are we? We've gone a bit late already, so I might not. Oh, what's this? Oh, disgusting. Oh, okay. We're going to talk about family first, but there's headlines of the news we should react to. Fuck me. Here we are. This is the first thing I wanted to. Avi Yemeni posts April Fool's joke pretending to oppose fictional Knesset vote on death penalty for convicted terrorists with blood on their hands. Yemeni, absolute cunt dog he is, published a post claiming the Knesset passed a death penalty law for convicted terrorists with blood on their hands and stated that it broke his lifelong defense of Israel. He later revealed it to be April Fool's prank due to the time zone differences in Melbourne. The post prompted reactions including relief, outrage, and support of the fictional and accusations from critics. After years of putting my life on the line defending Israel, calling out every blood libel and every terror apologist, yesterday's Knesset vote has finally broken me. They just passed a death penalty law for convicted terrorists with blood on their hands. I've spent my entire adult life arguing Israel is better than this. Turns out I was wrong. This isn't the self-defense. This is the moment we became what our enemies always claimed we were. I can't defend it anymore. Not today. Not ever again. The mask is off. So sorry, it's April the 1st in Melbourne. I almost believed that nonsense for a second. This man is being convicted of throwing a chopping board at it as well, by the way. Back to calling out lies and standing with Israel like always, because the only good terrorist is a dead terrorist. Yeah, because a sign of a good and moral country is one in which the death penalty is only legal for a certain race. That's justifiable. Why isn't Avi Yemeni defending Australia and the Australian ethnicity and the Australian nation with that much vigor? In fact, why is Avi Yemeni even in this country? Did you know a couple of weeks ago, some guy was convicted of raping his brother when he was like a 10-year-old, and Avi Yemeni didn't utter a word about it. And I believe, I don't want to say anything, I don't want to make any accusations without any evidence, but they're on his Wikipedia page. Oh, yeah. In 2016, one of Yemeni's brothers, Manny Wax, who... is that the one? Yeah, Manny Wax sued him for defamation after Yemeni claimed that Wax and their father were harboring a known pedophile in their family home. Wax dropped the lawsuit after Yemeni apologized a few months later. So Manny Wax, he was raped by somebody when he was 10 years old. And Avi Yemeni hasn't said anything about this, which is very, very weird and suspect. Like, your brother, it was proven by a court of law that your brother was raped when he was a 10-year-old, and you don't make any noise about that. You have the sick in the head. If that is your response to finding out your brother when he was 10 years old was raped by somebody else, you have to be sick in the head. But Avi Yemeni, disgusting person. Why is he even allowed in this country? He contributes nothing to this country. He just constantly agitates the left and Muslims all day, makes them angrier and angrier. And he's literally said that part of the reason he supports Israel is because if anything goes wrong here, he can just fuck off back to Israel. He should fuck off back to Israel. Honestly, why is he here? He's going to agitate leftists for a grift with his fat Indian friend, and then when shit hits the fan, he's just going to fly out. Because Israel, they don't have to face the consequences of their actions. Israelis don't have to face the consequences of their actions. That's why Israel harbors tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pedophiles. That you've probably seen that infamous map of Israeli pedophiles who sought asylum in Israel, and because of the law of return, Israel does not extradite these people, these pedophiles who are convicted of raping children. Sorry. There's another thing I wanted to take a look at. That's nonsense. Israel did not kill Charlie Kirk. I'm so sick of that fucking idiotic retardation. Nick Fuentes. So, he was in the IDF and recruited for them in a gym. Yes, that's right. That's something else I wanted to bring up. He's probably murdered kids before. Why is he in this country? He should be deported. Has he sniped kids before? That is something that we should be investigating. That is something that he needs to address. How many kids has he murdered if he has? Here.
I'm leaving honest to God, I'm leaving the country. If, or more likely when, a Democrat wins in 2028, I'm leaving America. And when I say that, I don't mean like, I'm leaving America because like, I don't like the way things are going. I mean, they're gonna try to kill us. That's what I mean, they're gonna try to kill us. And they're not hiding it. J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, said when we get in, we're going to hold everybody liable. Excuse me, he said, not criminally, but civilly, we're going to hold everybody that was a part of this thing liable. And not just the government employees. We're going after everybody. I'm not sticking around to find out what an anthropic-powered, Obama, dark woke agenda is going to look like. I am going to flee the country. I'm going to see how it shakes out. I'm going to monitor the situation. And I saw there's some plan trusters out there, and they're saying, well, You know, the problem is you don't want to be all in. Like, you're shying away from Trump because you're getting cold feet and you don't want to take the fight to the left. And you know what? That's 100% true. I saw a John Doyle video about this the other day. John Doyle said, if you find yourself criticizing Trump, pandering to the left, he said, this is about you getting cold feet and you want out of the fight. And it's like, yeah, I am. I am not on the suicide mission with Trump. You know, Gavin Newsom, if you can hear me, I'm not with him. I'm not with him. Gavin Newsom, he's over there. He went that way. He did it. Don't look at me. I voted for Hitler. Trump went that way. Get him, Gavin. I'm over. And you want to know why? Because everyone with a brain knew that Trump was not a fucking serious person. If Trump were serious, okay, I would ride. If Trump were legit, bro, my heart goes out to him. If Trump were a legit Caesar Augustus figure, dude, send the army. My heart goes out to you. I'm there. And you know, death penalty, bring it forth, like, and we will do whatever we want to them. But we all knew that Trump is not serious. Trump is not competent. His team are
Trump is a
idiots
retard.
or scammers or Jews.
It's got dementia as well.
Or they're incompetent. He is terrible, his people are terrible, and we saw this movie before. So part of the reason why I told people not to vote and why I thought maybe Kamala would be better is because we know that Trump, like before, is barking up the wrong tree. He is calling out and attacking the most powerful people in the world, or working
he's got no follow through either.
But with zero willingness or ability to actually defeat them or finish the job. He doesn't cross the Rubicon and march on Rome and do what must be done. He goes in the Rubicon and kind of hangs out in there. And he chills out on Truth Social and says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Never mind. Actually, we're good. Actually, what I meant is that we won the whole time. And if you play that way, then we're all going to die. So you're damn right. You're damn right. I am not repeating the mistake of the first term. And here's the difference. I was actually at January 6th. I was actually at Charlottesville. Let me tell you something. I sacrificed a lot for this movement. A lot. I went to Charlottesville and got my life...
This may be controversial, but Trump lost the 2020 election. He just did. Sorry. That's a fucking fact. Get over
it. I wore a MAGA hat everywhere and became a social pariah and professionally ostracized. And I did the stupid internet show, and I bought into all the nonsense about immigration and the bro science and the conspiracy theories and all this crap. And when Trump said the election was stolen, I showed up to the rallies, Stop the Steal. And I showed up on January 6th, and I got royally fucked all over again. I got my money frozen. I got put on the no-fly list. I got censored. Trump didn't do a damn thing to help anybody. Didn't pardon everybody when he had the chance to in 2021. He didn't lift a finger to stop tech censorship when he was president the first time. And all the people that campaigned and volunteered for him, one by one, he threw them under the bus, and they weren't even hired in the administration, or they were allowed to be ostracized by people that hate Trump. I learned my lesson. And I said, I'm not doing it again. I'm not riding for this guy. Look at what happened. We knocked on the doors. We wore the stupid hat. People got fired from their jobs, got their asses kicked, got banned on Twitter, got banned on Uber for this guy. People went to the Stop the Steal rallies, got imprisoned for this guy because he asked us to. He asked us to show up. And you know what happened on J6th? He fucked around. On J6th, he could have went and said, I'm going to the Capitol and I'm not leaving. He didn't do that. He waited too long. He let everybody storm the Capitol. Then hours later, he said, you know what? Never mind. Forget it. I'm going to go home like a good boy. And then everyone went to jail for 5 years. And now we're doing it all over again. And look at what Trump is doing. He blew up the White House. You got these ICE raids, and they're literally doing them performatively just to piss off the left. Charlie Kirk is dead. He got shot in the face. What has Charlie Kirk profited from this movement? Charlie Kirk got shot in the face because he is a lieutenant of the MAGA movement, and Trump didn't even give a shit.
Fuck everybody. Fuck anybody that supported Charlie Kirk.
And they said, what do you think about your friend Charlie Kirk being assassinated?
Fuck every single despicable piece of shit who celebrated his death, who was murdered in front of his wife and children. Fuck them. They are our enemy. They are disgusting. They shouldn't. They are not. I do not wish to tear our country. There are many people in Australia who've celebrated his death. They do not deserve to call themselves Australians. They do not deserve rights. They do not deserve dignity. Then they should be ashamed of themselves.
Assassinated today, and he said, oh, it's bad. Anyway, if you look at the East Wing, we're doing an amazing job. So I just learned my lesson, and I said, no, I'm not committing suicide for this movement. It's not going to work, and if it's not going to work, then I'm not going to be a part of it, because I'm not going to put all that back on the line for a movement that isn't serious. You want supporters, you want loyalty, you got to take it seriously. You got to play to win. You got to be all in it. You can't be selling Trump coin. You can't be doing a Melania feature film in the theaters. You can't be cutting deals like that.
Apparently people were paid to watch Melania in Australia. Oh, no, in the United States, in Boston, yeah.
That's going on, and expecting everybody to go out and cape for this stuff. I don't want to be there when Antifa starts cutting everybody's heads off. You're damn right. You're damn right. We're going to say, hey, we're not with Trump. Absolutely. Absolutely. So like I said, if Gavin Newsom is looking for Trump, I'm going to tell him where he is. Forget it.
That's how more and more Americans are feeling. Donald Trump fucked Americans over.
Honest to God. Sending energy and momentum to the pendulum, to this wrecking ball. I'm leaving the country. Ball that is going to swing so hard the other way, it's going to bury us for a generation. Honest to God. I'm leaving the country. If, or more likely when, a Democrat wins in 2028, I'm leaving America. And when I say that, I don't mean like, I'm leaving America because like, I don't like the way things are going. I mean, they're going to try to kill us. Yeah. That's what I mean. They're going to try to kill us. And they're not hiding it. J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois.
The final thing I wanted to talk about, almost been streaming for 2.5 hours at this point, is Family First is in trouble for, look at that. It's very funny, very interesting. Okay, AI slop. AI made thumbnail. Why does it have to be made with AI? From the creators of Dumb and Dumber comes a whole new adventure. Irrelevant and irrelevant. So Family First refuses to preference One Nation and Farah. It's not politics, it's about standards. Didn't even bother to edit it. This was written by AI. When a candidate's record raises serious questions about respect for women, Family First is drawing a line in the sand. This decision may turn heads, but it says everything about the values that matter. Family First refuses to preference One Nation and Farah over candidates' view of women. Let's see, what did he say that was so objectionable? Family First has today announced that they will not be recommending its number 2 preference for One Nation at the upcoming Farah by-election, citing serious concerns about the conduct of and record of its candidate David Farley. National Director Lyle Shelton said recent revelations about Mr. Farley's social media activity, including the sharing of sexually suggestive content involving young women, raised serious questions about his judgment and respect for women. To their credit, major parties will generally disendorse candidates for this sort of activity. One Nation will not be... Why is that your business? Why do you care what he gets up to in his spare time? He's not even running for the Christian Party. And if so, as long as he's not promoting it and stuff, as long as he's not, I mean, he did share it, but it was probably an accident, though. Was that even when he was a candidate, though? If so, that really doesn't matter. How does this affect Lyle Shelton? How does somebody watching porn, which they shouldn't do, and porn should be banned, but right now, as it currently stands, how does somebody watching filth, OnlyFans, how does that affect you, Lyle Shelton? Family First will not be preferencing One Nation and Farah because we believe in respecting women and girls. We reject the sex industry's online platforms designed to deceive young women into thinking pornographic images of themselves are empowering, Mr. Shelton said. Yeah, young women hold no responsibility for signing up to OnlyFans. It's always those evil sexist men who trick women into selling themselves and make millions of dollars. Women aren't fucking victims due to OnlyFans. They make millions of dollars. Are you serious? Men are the victims. Men are the porn addicts. Women are the... young women are evil if they sell their bodies. They are prostitutes. They are worse than prostitutes. They are scandalizing hundreds of thousands of men and selling money doing it as well. You know, at least online porn is free. but these people are enriching themselves, charging people to watch them who can't do any better. It's not like they don't know any better. It's they can't do any better. They're addicts. They can't control themselves, and it's their fault. It's not the fault of men. It's the fault of these evil women and these evil businessmen, these evil CEOs who have a business model of selling porn. Politics should be uplifting standards, but not lowering them. The character of its candidates matters. Mr. Shelton said concerns are extended beyond a single incident. Comments previously attributed to Mr. Farley about former Prime Minister Julia Gillard were offensive and demeaning, not just to her, but to all women. I'm sorry, women. This points to a deeper problem. We're against fucking abortion. He said Mr. Farley's conduct also sits at odds with the clearly expressed values of the community. In 2024, Albury residents strongly opposed the establishment of the strip club in their city, with the council ultimately rejecting the proposal after significant community backlash. That tells you something important about the values of this electorate. People in Farrow want a family-friendly community that respects women and not one that represented by someone who promotes content that objectifies them. Family First has some irrelevant person as their candidate. This is not us, whatever. Family First stands unapologetically for the dignity of women, the protection of children, and the strengthening of families. Preferences are not just tactical, they're AI slob, fuck me. And I said, now, and if you're not familiar with the law behind me, I was disendorsed by Family First for opposing lesbian parentage and immigration. I'll get it up. So I ran as a candidate for the Queensland North Brisbane seat of Longman in 2025 as their family first candidate. Find the noticer. Can't believe it's been almost a year. Noticer. Here we are. I was so chopped then. Family First Party, which represents blah blah. Yeah, I was selected as the Family First candidate for Longman, but received an email telling me that the party would no longer be endorsing me due to my social media activity, and see something must be something so evil that it'd have to warrant me getting disendorsed. Child abuse. Matilda Starr has shared exciting family news with the Star 1 year ago to the day. Exciting family news with the Star and her wife Kirsty Yallop revealing they are expecting their second child. Child abuse. 2 women cannot and should not raise children. This is disgusting and they should both be locked up. Lesbianism is disgusting. I didn't even say lesbianism should be illegal. I think homosexual parentage is disgusting, and homosexuals who raise children with the homosexual couples should be locked up because it's child abuse what they're doing. This is not something we should be promoting. Adults do not have a right to children. Every child has a right to parents, but not every parent has rights to children. Every parent deserves one mother and one father. What a great country we have, built solely by white Christian men. That's a fact. And Auspill, here we are. Here's Auspill. Kind of crazy how virtually every Australian state has begun hiring police from overseas, and it's just been taken as normal. At least they're white. That's not even offensive. And the final one, a reply to the video who say, imagine how the Aboriginals felt whenever I talk about mass immigration into Australia, and I said, white people need to start breeding like rabbits. Now, if you know about the Bible, one of the first commandments God gives to Adam and Eve is, Family First is a Christian party, remember, is that you should be fruitful and multiply. That is essentially what I said, and I got disendorsed for saying that. I was disendorsed for espousing Christian principles, I say white Christian men built Australia, and Christians take umbrage to that. Apparently, supporting Israel ethnic cleansing Gaza is acceptable, or being pro-white is not. How can Family First, an alleged Christian party, object to pro-white, pro-Christian rhetoric? And 6 News also. I was like the leading political story in Australia for like a day. And Lyle Shelton responded to it.
Quite a revolution.
actually, we're getting off track. But I was really excited to talk about this story. And Family First faced criticism, so let's see if what they reply with holds up. Family First's reasons for not recommending this, its number 2 preference to One Nation and Farah, have been picked up by the mainstream media. Family First will always fight for the dignity of young women. Family First, Family First, Family First. Just disgusting. It's disgusting grift of Lyle Shelton. His personal political vehicle. He's achieved nothing in his entire political career. He's had 26 years now in politics, and his greatest achievement is stopping grey water from being used for drinking water in Toowoomba in 2006. That's it. That's literally his greatest achievement. And he's been the head of Christian politics in this country for almost 20 years, and he's failed every single time. He failed with the same-sex marriage referendum. He failed with transgenderism. He failed with abortion. He failed with the safe schools, which pushed homosexuality in children's schools. And I released a tweet yesterday evening, which here we are. Update on Family First. Disendorsed yours truly, me, for espousing Christian principles. Abstains from voting against evil pro-abortion bill, which would have been the deciding vote. So yes, somebody who was previously a member of Family First, so the parliamentary system, pairing votes, they paired votes. So the Labour Party had a party line. They were going to vote for a bill that would legalise abortion up to birth. The Liberals had a conscience vote. This person was against abortion, but one of the Labour MPs couldn't make it. So, vote pairing ordinarily would be somebody from the opposition would sit out so as to cancel out the missing vote. But that's not really relevant for a conscience vote. But of course, Labour didn't have a conscience vote, but the Liberals did. Yeah, remember that abortion is the murder of a child in the womb. All right, it's not banning surgery. It's not restricting women's rights to do anything else except for murdering their child, which is not a right. So this man abstained from voting against the evil pro-abortion bill, which would have been the deciding vote. And Lyle Shelton and Family First praised him. They praised him for. They praised him for not being against baby murder. That's despicable. I'm so sick of Lyle Shelton's grift. And finally, puts Liberals above the One Nation. That shit. Put Family First last. That's what I did on the Senate ballot paper in Queensland out of spite. Family First is not getting my support. I'm committed to not only total Liberal death and total coalition death, total national death, but also total Family First death. Family First is a party that does not deserve our respect, does not hold itself to any sort of principles. I mean, Lyle Shelton is friends with Avi Yemeni, who threw a chopping board at his wife and has almost certainly committed genocidal acts in Gaza. What about Lyle Shelton and Family First is a Christian? So, been streaming for almost 3 hours now. I've covered everything I wanted to talk about. Controlled, petrol, opposition, false flag, nonsense. So only one person watching now. So I'm going to end the stream here. I've been streaming for almost 3 hours. I hope to have a new video out tomorrow evening titled The Entire History of Pauline Hanson and One Nation. I want to get it out before Good Friday. So I may stream on Good Friday evening. I may do some political quizzes. I may do some trivia quizzes just to show you how smart I am or to show you where I stand on the political spectrum. If that interests you, tell me which one of those you prefer. I hope you all have a happy Easter if I do not stream again before Easter. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow me on my, subscribe to me on my second channel in which I upload clips of my stream in case you can't make it and just want to see